president of the Atlantic City branch of the NAACP, and I am happy to welcome you to our candidates night for the general election of 2021. We are holding this event virtually because of the ravages of COVID-19 and because of our concern for the safety of the listening audience and the candidates and the campaign. The NAACP does not endorse candidates, but we actively encourage and advocate to increase voter involvement, engage in voter education, and voter awareness. The Atlantic City NAACP was active in a successful effort to have early voting in New Jersey, which we are currently engaged in as we speak. The NAACP was an early vocal advocate for Atlantic City to be an early voting location. And as we know, the Atlantic City Public Library is one of the voting locations in Atlantic County. The NAACP, as many of you know, was founded over 100 years ago to combat the insidious scourge of lynching. There have been over 5,000 recorded lynchings in the United States from 1865 to 1965. In fact, Ginsburg chronicles in his book, 100 Years of Lynching, some of the incidents that were actually recorded in newspapers. Many times these lynchings were with the support of and the involvement of law enforcement. Many times the lynchings were covered up by law enforcement. And unfortunately, many times the lynching were spectators events where people took souvenirs of the body parts of the lynching victims. Race has never been a theory for persons of color in our nation. The maltreatment of persons of color is one of the issues that the NAACP continues to address. Our candidates' nights held before the primary and general election gives the public an unfiltered opportunity to have candidates for public office speak directly to voters on questions of importance to them. The NAACP, as a rule, as a practice, and as a protocol, invites all candidates for office at the local, county, and state level to participate in our candidates night. We are happy to be joined tonight by our longtime media partner, WEHA Radio, 88.7 and 100.3 FM, who will be broadcasting this event tonight and also tomorrow night. We also thank the League of Women Voters, who are co-hosts for the mayoral candidate segment of tonight's candidates night. Tonight's event and tomorrow's night session with the state senator, assembly, county commissioner, and county clerk candidates will also be available on all of our NAACP platforms. Tonight, you will be hearing from the Atlantic City Board of Education candidates, the Atlantic City mayoral candidates, and the Atlantic City Council at Large candidates. Please join us tomorrow from 4:30 to 5:30 for your NAACP Speaks. Also on our media partner, WEHA, 88.7 and 100.3 FM. Please enjoy tonight's candidates night. Again, let me, before I conclude, thank the committee for their hard work. They are a committee of dedicated, committed volunteers who have worked to put this program together, who have worked to reach out to the campaigns, which is an arduous task. They have worked to make sure that this program goes off smooth and without a hitch, and I salute them and thank them. As I said before, please enjoy tonight's candidates night. Vote early if that is convenient for you. Vote by mail if you've already signed up, or vote in person on Tuesday, November 2nd. But please vote, please vote, please vote. Thank you.
Thank you, President Shabazz. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our annual General Election Candidates Forum. My name is Helen Kiokis, and I am the Political Action Committee co-chair, along with one of our moderators tonight, Reverend Stafford Miller. Tonight, we are featuring Atlantic City School Board candidates, City Council at Large, and Atlantic City mayoral candidates. And for those listening on WEHA, we are currently live streaming this event on our YouTube page, the NAACP Atlantic City Speaks YouTube page. You can find that at www.bit.ly/NAACP Atlantic City. Tomorrow night, as President Shabazz mentioned, you can tune in at 6 p.m. to hear from the Atlantic County Commissioners at Large, the Atlantic County Clerk candidates, and the candidates for State Assembly and State Senate. We want to make sure everyone has a plan to vote. On Election Day, polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. this Tuesday, November 2nd. And in addition to the candidates we're featuring tonight and tomorrow night, on the ticket is also the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy and Jack Ciattarelli, and 3 other candidates are running to be the next governor of New Jersey. So it's a very important election. If you're going to vote on Election Day, again, polling places are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Or if you have a vote by mail ballot, you can drop it off at one of the ballot drop box locations across the county. And we also have early voting. Early voting centers are open from now until October 31st. In Atlantic City, the location is the Free Public Library on Tennessee Avenue. It is open from Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can go, no appointment needed. You can go and you'll be able to vote on a new machine actually that has a voter verified paper trail. So you can actually then see who you voted for and confirm before hitting your final, hitting the final cast my vote button. Tonight's moderators are our Political Action Committee co-chair, Reverend Stafford Miller, and our branch treasurer, Miriam Sarhan. So we thank them for being our moderators tonight. And we're going to begin with our Atlantic City School Board candidates. We have 8 candidates on the ticket for Atlantic City School Board. Voters can choose up to 3. So depending on your municipality, make sure that you read your ballot closely so that you're not throwing any votes away. Make sure that you see if it says vote for 1, vote for 2, vote for up to 3, that you're actually making all of your votes. So again, in Atlantic City, we have 8 candidates. 2 of them are joining us tonight. The first candidate who is joining us is Henry Hank Green, followed by Jared Barnes. And then we will transition to our City Council forum. So I would like to introduce Reverend Stafford Miller. He will be the moderator for this portion of the debate. And in about a couple minutes, we will get started with our school board candidates. But again, we're going to start with school board, move on to Atlantic City Council, followed by the candidates for Atlantic City Mayor. And tomorrow we will be speaking with the candidates at the county level and in Legislative District 2, the State Senate and State Assembly. If you are tuning into the radio, please know that we're also live streaming this on our YouTube page, and you can access that video. If you're not able to listen to the entire program, you will be able to access an archived reporting after this event. We have our timekeeper also. I want to say thank you to Nastasia Davis, who is going to serve as our timekeeper this evening. Those watching on YouTube or listening won't be able to see or hear her, but our candidates will be getting notified of their time. So for school board, each candidate will have 5 minutes. They're going to start with an introductory statement, followed by a brief Q&A, and then they'll have an opportunity to make closing remarks. So I will bring in our first candidate, Henry Hank Green for Atlantic City School Board. We will just wait one moment to make sure that audio and video is working, and then we will begin with our program. Mr. Green, if you're able to unmute yourself so we know that your audio is working.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Okay,
All right. All right. How you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
thank you.
Are you able to see our timekeeper?
Who's the timekeeper?
Nastasia, can you wave?
Yes,
Well,
I see her.
okay,
Okay, great.
great.
So Reverend Miller, I will
Sure.
pass it over to you.
I'll take the torch. Brother Green, good evening. Now we can't see your picture, your video.
Okay.
Is that by design? If we can go on
You know,
without it.
no. I'm just,
There you go. There
you
you
know,
go. There you go.
I'm a technology scrub over here.
That's okay. You're growing. That's why you're the man you are. My name is Reverend Stafford Miller, pastor of Asbury in the Methodist Church, and happy to be with you this evening. I have some questions for you, but you first get a minute to just share what your vision might be, and then we'll get to our questions, and we'll you have like 5 minutes all together. So make sure you answer the question to the best of your ability. Quickly, concisely, and full of passion. And tell us about yourself.
Born and raised here in Atlantic City, of a mother. I've got 7 brothers and sisters. Graduated from Johnson C. Smith University. Was the senior class president of my class 4 years. Played football at high school, basketball, baseball, track. I was highly involved in politics early on with Coach Huff. I started out with him. After I've been around and got out of school and things like that, I had the opportunity to, when I came home, I started getting into, I guess, politics, but more or less I wanted to get involved with students and bringing sports and learning center here that from a lot of the other recreational places that I've seen. I wanted to bring some of those types of ideas here. I couldn't get no backing with no one that was interested in what I was talking about. So I decided to run for school board over 10 years ago. And then I lost that opportunity. And it was another opening that came up where someone was misplaced on the board. I went for that position. They chose someone else for that time. After that, I ran for council at large. Then I also ran for mayor 4 years
Mr.
ago.
Green, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's your time. We just, because of the virtual background, the sign's actually not showing. So so sorry about that. So that is your time for opening remarks. And now we can move on to questions.
Okay. Mr. Green, just breathe. It's okay. Just breathe. We're going to make sure you get the respect that you're worthy of. Okay. Now, one, in what ways can we improve as a school district?
Oh, first and foremost, with the education of our children. I don't think that the numbers show that our children are not properly prepared for when they leave high school, or even if they leave high school. They can definitely be much more properly prepared to venture out in this world and try to be a productive citizen.
Okay. What do you see as the most important responsibility of the school board?
Superintendent, the budget, and the policies. Those 3 things are things that I think that are my main responsibility. I'm not there to tell the administration what to do and how to do their job, but I will be there to enforce the policies and create and make sure that the policies are equitable for our children, and that at the end of the day, whatever we put in place, they benefit from.
Okay. Now, how will you ensure that the school board is accessible and will engage in the diverse communities of Atlantic City? We're a very diverse, rich, beautiful community. How can you make sure that the school board can engage in all that diversity?
Well, I would think that I would be a voice for all citizens in Atlantic City. I think that everybody needs to have their perspective and views seen and respected, not just seen, but respected in an equity manner, where people are actually listening to them, and maybe the actions and things that they were requesting, there's some effort and actions put behind results to try to dealing with those problems and issues.
Okay, another question. In what areas do you believe that we can spend the millions of dollars that in federal COVID-related aid that we've received? How would you like to spend that money?
I would like to spend it on middle schools. I think that right now in Atlantic City, the little children that are in the schools with the big kids, it's a negative impact where they're seeing a lot of things that small children necessarily.
Okay. Lost you. We lost you for a minute.
You got me back?
Got you back. Go ahead.
Middle schools. We need middle schools. We had Chelsea and Central when we were children, and I think that it's two-pronged with the gang-related issues or neighborhood-related issues that we're having. These kids get a chance to be in middle schools and meet each other and be on sports and teams and be in classes and get to know each other before they get to high school. And maybe some of that will curtail a lot of the community fighting and violence that we've had that's been prevalent in our neighborhoods.
Great. What makes you different, Brother Green? What makes you different than everybody else?
I think that what I want to see myself. I believe that my integrity is different. I believe that I'm not about myself. I'm not for my family. I'm not just for my friends. Or when it comes to dealing with the students and the fiscal responsibility of the school system, that's something that I take seriously. I think there's too much in our system right now where people have too many hands in different places where you can, look at their situation and maybe think that, you could call their integrity, at the table. That's not a problem that you're going to have with me. I think that I'm a man of my word the best that I can. I don't think that I'll be able to change anything by myself at the end of the day. But with the support of the people, thank you.
Well, you got 30 seconds. We saw two signs. One said 30, one said time. So you got 15 seconds. Wrap it up. Come on.
I think that people, the most important thing is that if you want people to get behind you and if you think the issues are big enough, you have to have the parents and the people in the community to come out and support you. And that's something that we don't have enough people doing these days, is supporting the issues that need supporting. And even if a board is against you, against one individual, if the people come out collectively and they believe in the issue, and I believe I'm the type of person that can paint the picture that's needed to be painted, to benefit our children.
Okay. Well, look, we thank you. We deeply appreciate your time, your effort, your involvement, your desire to make a difference. And now I want to just turn our time together back over to our co-chair, Ms. Helen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. So we're bringing in our next candidate, Jared Barnes. So again, thank you for joining us, Mr. Barnes. We are going to start with, you'll have a minute for opening remarks. Our timekeeper is Nastasia Davis, so she will be queuing you. We'll have 3.5 minutes for Q&A, and then you'll have about 30 seconds for quick closing remarks. And Reverend Miller will be the moderator. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. You're on. Go, Brother Barnes, go ahead.
Oh, I'm good. I thought she said she was waiting for me to waiting to cue me in.
You're good. You're on.
You're good.
currently
You're good.
Oh, I'm
live,
good?
so yeah,
All
you
right.
can start your opening statement.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jared Barnes, and I'm running for school board this year. I'm on the Building on Excellence ticket, and that's with Mr. Shay Steele, Ms. Ruth Byard, and myself, Jared Barnes. Just a quick introduction about myself. Obviously, I'm a resident of Atlantic City. I'm a homeowner in Atlantic City. I'm a husband. I'm a father of 4. Currently work in healthcare. I've been in healthcare management for about 10 years now. Currently, population health outcomes manager for Village Medical for the New Jersey region. I am a graduate of Sarkhan State University with my bachelor's in biology and a minor in chemistry. I also have my MBA in healthcare management from the University of Phoenix. And I'm a doctoral candidate for doctorate in healthcare administration. I love the kids of Atlantic City. Oh, that's it.
Oh, well,
I started late.
Well,
Yeah.
you're doing good. We
Okay.
couldn't see the sign before. The sign is much better, so you're fine. Finish your statement, and I got some questions for you. So you're a
Okay.
doctorate student, and you're
Doctoral student, getting my doctorate in healthcare administration. I currently work, as of right now, I just left football practice. So I actually work with the kids in Atlantic City as a football coach for Atlantic City Dolphins. And I just asked for your vote November 2nd.
okay. Good. Thank you so much. In what ways can we improve as a school district? Now, you got 3.5 minutes, so judge your questions. Go. How can we improve as a school district?
I think it's a few ways we can improve the school district. First way is I'm in healthcare, so obviously healthcare is a passion of mine. So I think we need to increase the we need to get a healthcare curriculum in place for the school district. We have a lot of talented students in Atlantic City. So we need to keep those kids, and we can actually guide them in the right direction in the world of healthcare. Obviously, we have the school out, ACIT, that has programs for students that want to join the healthcare field. Why not have those for our school district?
Okay.
Why not keep those kids here in Atlantic City, and we can gear them towards healthcare?
Okay, Brother Barnes, thank you. Next question. What do you see as the most important responsibility of the school board?
I think one of the most important responsibilities of the school board is to bring the city together. I know there's a lot of division within the school board itself and within the city of Atlantic City. I think the school board needs to help bridge that gap between one side of Atlantic City versus the other side of Atlantic City. Because there is a lot of division amongst the city and amongst the school board. So I think we need to work together and bring the whole city together.
Okay. Question. How would you ensure that the school board is accessible and will engage with the diversified communities of Atlantic City? We have a lot of different wonderful communities. How can the school board engage, bring that together?
First and foremost, to engage, you have to be accessible. You have to be accessible. You have to go out into the community and you have to show your face. You know, we have individuals who are in certain positions and you've never seen them at all. So you have to be out. You actually have to go out. You have to go into these communities. You have to go to different school events. You know, it's a lot of different events that go on that nobody attends. And it's not just sporting events. It's all of these different events that the school has. You actually need to show your face and be accessible.
Okay. What makes you different? What makes you, Gerard Barnes, different?
Well, it's Jared Barnes.
I'm sorry, Jared. I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's all right. It's all right. I'm different because first and foremost, I'm a laid back individual. I'm open. I'm engaging. Like I said, I work in management, and my policies, I have an open door policy, so I'm always accessible to everybody. I listen to everyone. I hear what you have to say, and I take it in, and I'm able to just speak with people. You know, I'm able to speak with anybody, no matter what culture you're from, what race, gender, ethnicity. I'm available. I didn't grow up in Atlantic City. I grew up in rural South Carolina. So even though I grew up in the rural South, it's very diverse. So, you know, I've seen different things. I'm a college graduate. So I've come from a different background.
Okay. You got 30 seconds left. How would you just summarize Jared Barnes?
Jared Barnes is someone who is for the children of Atlantic City. I think the best thing I can say is that I have a relationship with the kids of Atlantic City, and that's different from other individuals. So you want somebody that's on the school board, person that fits the bill is someone who actually has a relationship with these kids in Atlantic City and who wants what's best for the kids in Atlantic City.
Okay, look, we thank you so much for making time to be with us. We thank you for sharing your goals, dreams, expectations, your vision, and God bless you and good luck. Back to Miss Helen.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
My friend.
Thank you for joining us. So we are
Thank
going
you.
to transition to the city council portion. We have 6 city council candidates running for 3 seats. We have Rizwan Malik, Matthew Diolio Jacino, Stephanie Marshall, Maria Laka, Bruce Weeks, George Tibbett. They're listed here in the order in which we drew the names, the order that they'll appear tonight in this forum. We are waiting for our one candidate. Again, we just heard from 2 of our 8 school board members, and we have city council coming up next. These positions are at-large positions. We have 3 at-large positions, and we have 6 candidates. So again, make sure to look at your ballot closely. This is Atlantic City, but take a look at your specific municipal ballot to make sure that you are choosing the number of either council, committee members, or school board members that you're able to. So we are waiting on our first candidate to join us in the Zoom. President Shabazz, are there any other announcements you want to make while we wait?
Yes, I just want to remind the audience that early voting is in effect at the Atlantic City Public Library. It's handicap accessible. People can park in the Atlantic City Hall parking lot. The hours for early voting are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. during the week. And on Saturday and Sunday, it's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And Helena, I just want to report also, yesterday, we had a very successful Souls to the Polls Sunday. At Second Baptist, I believe Reverend Miller did it at his church at Union, not the Union, the Asbury Methodist, and I believe also St. James and other churches. And I am happy to report that that did occur. I believe people are getting involved and energized, and we're going to do it again next Sunday, which concludes early voting, Souls to the Polls. Souls to the Polls is something that mainly has been done in the southern parts of the country, where people after their church service go to vote. And we are expanding it. We are also having people in the Islamic community, they're going after their Friday service to the polls. And we encourage everyone, if it's convenient for you, to vote, early vote. Our whole thesis in the early vote was that we shouldn't just lock people into Tuesdays. Some people can't get off work. Some people don't have the flexibility to vote as a convenience. The NAACP and other civil and social rights, social justice organizations believe that voting should be easier, not harder, that we should remove barriers and hurdles to voting, and that we should make it comfortable for people to vote. And the Atlantic City Library, I would say, is a comfortable, easy to access place for people to vote. So that's 10 to 6 weekdays, 10 to 8 p.m. On weekends. And we would encourage everyone to early vote or vote by mail if you signed up, or also obviously you have the ability to vote Tuesday, November the 2nd, which is the regular voting day. But please vote, please vote, please vote.
Thank you. So our next candidate is having tech issues. So we'll bring up the candidate who's scheduled afterwards. That's Matthew James Diolio Jacino. So I will bring Matthew in from the waiting room to join us on the Zoom platform. And for City Council, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening remark. There will be then 11 minutes of question and answer, again with our co-chair, Reverend Miller. And then the candidates will have 1 minute to make closing remarks. Matthew, if you're there, if you can unmute yourself, and so we know that everything's working. Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. We got you in a little bit
Yes.
early. The previous candidate is having tech issues, so we got you in a little bit early, but thank you for participating. And Reverend Miller will be asking your questions, but first you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. My name is Matthew James DiLeo Giacino. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for my setting and attire. Normally, I would be a little more formally dressed and presentable. However, I am out at our early voting location, which is here at the Atlantic City Library. The polls are open until 8 p.m. tonight. They will be open every day until 8 p.m., except for this Sunday. They'll be open until 6. And then on Tuesday will be the regular election day. For the introduction, my name is, like I said, Matthew DiLeo Giacino. I grew up here in Atlantic City. I'm currently working as a drug and alcohol counselor at an inpatient detox facility here in South Jersey, as well as I am the Chief Operations Officer for the Celestial Alliance Native American Church. I'm also on the board for the Black Republican Caucus. I'm a candidate for City Council at large, and I'm running for several reasons. Number one reason being I'm tired of seeing what's going on in our city in regards to corruption, in regards to nepotism, in regards to several issues that are not being addressed. Frankly, I'm out here on Tennessee Avenue right now, and to see the mental health crises that are going on, the addiction crises that are going on, the homeless crises that are going on, that are being addressed, that are not being addressed, but that are being ignored, and frankly, in my opinion, worsened by some of the recent actions of the city council, are some of the reasons of running, as well as, to address the unsustainable property taxes we have.
Okay, Matthew, thank you for sharing with us. You had a little more time, but we'll use that time for your questions. How's that? Okay. We also have a timekeeper that will guide us. And so when you'll get some flashes of how much time you have, and that can kind of give us some direction of how to answer your questions. Got almost a dozen questions here. I'm not going to ask you all of them. My name is Stafford Miller, pastor of Asbury. I met you before, and it's my joy to be with you tonight. Number one, what will be your number one priority in your first 100 days of office?
Number one priority in first 100 days of office will definitely have to be addressing some of the issues in regards to people that have been hired by the city, and possibly going on to pass a municipal ordinance that says that the council has to approve such hirings in the future, as well as the ShopRite that's going to be opening. I do not want to see that ShopRite opened up with a bunch of autonomous self-checkout machines. I really think those things are bad for jobs. So what we have to do is pass an ordinance that we're going to attempt to pass an ordinance that outright bans those. However, if we can't get that done on the council, we will go for another ordinance that puts an hourly tax on the use of self-checkout machines. So for every job you take, for every machine you operate, you're going to pay an hourly tax, $15 an hour for every hour those machines are operated. I think when you see the issues that are going on with our unemployment rates with our youth, I think that some of these autonomous machines contribute to that. That's one of the things I'm really looking to do, is develop the city economically. So fighting for jobs, and as well as being a lot more business friendly, and quite frankly, getting in there and finding out what it is that we can do to invite more businesses in here without disadvantaging the businesses that are already here, such as was done with the ShopRite deal. Although I do think the city will benefit from the ShopRite, I think that the deal, the way that it was cut, is particularly bad for our small businesses here. Especially, it's a smack in the face to the businesses that have come here and have fought so hard to stay open, especially throughout the pandemic and everything like that. As well as the syringe access program is something that the closing of it is something that I vehemently disagree with. I do think that they need a different location. So I'm on board with moving it, and I'm on board with saying that you have to be an Atlantic City resident to use their services. However, I think closing it without any plan in action is horrible. I think the studies show that 50%, an HIV reduction transmission of 50% happens within a year of any of these places opening up all over the country. I think the science is in. I thought the science was settled. I thought we were following the science.
Okay.
I thought we were following the guidance of the CDC. So that's another big issue for me as well.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. The state takeover of AC has been extended. What do you see as the pros and cons of the arrangement? You got about 4 minutes left for a lot more questions, so go for yourself.
I see absolutely no benefit to the state takeover of Atlantic City at all. I think it is extreme. I think it is voter disenfranchisement. I think it is abhorrent to tell a population, I think for a bunch of white liberals in Trenton to tell a majority black city that they are too incompetent to elect competent leaders, I think is racist. Not only that, I think that we will take actions to end it. You know, I think when you look at the founding of this country and how it only took 56 signatures to stop a king from ruling over an entire country, I think we can do a lot with 9 signatures here in our city, as well as, you know, we have to renegotiate that. I think that the current city council has totally rolled over to that issue, as well as the administration in City Hall. I think that the state takeover has to stop. It has to end. Whether that happens legislatively or we take much harder actions against it, we will. Quite frankly, I'm not sure how this happened or how this was allowed to happen, because at the end of the day, I honestly feel Trenton needs Atlantic City more than Atlantic City needs Trenton. And that is the position we will be negotiating with going forward once I'm elected.
All right, thank you so much. Another question: how do you plan to address the city's environmental issues such as increased flooding?
So here's the thing with the flooding: we have a pump system that does not turn on automatically. Okay, it's got to be. It can't be that hard to go to the pumps and have them modify so that they turn on automatically. As well as when you see the public works and other divisions like CRETA cutting the grass and doing different landscaping work, they're not sucking up the leaves. So the leaves and the grass cuttings, the grass trimmings are all piling up and they're clogging the drains as well. As well as we need to get funding. Okay, we're going to get funding from the feds and from the state to fix our bulkheads all throughout the city, the 6th ward, the 5th ward, the 4th ward, anywhere where there's been the massive flooding issues that we've seen, especially over the last couple of years. I think some of the conditions of the bulkheads and how it hasn't been addressed yet is egregious.
Thank you. What makes you more qualified to serve as the mayor of the city of Atlantic City? I know you went for council, but what makes you qualified to serve as, I'm gonna say as a council member of Atlantic City? That question shouldn't be here. What makes you more qualified than the rest?
Well, I'm a former small business owner. Okay, so I've owned, you know, I'm a family man. I have 5 sisters and a brother. I have a daughter. I've lived here in this city. I've grown up in this city. I've watched what's happened in this city. I have the perspective that needs to be put onto the city council as far as living on the other end of failed government and failed policies. Okay, having been someone who's lived through that and overcome it, I really think my perspective on the city council is desperately needed at this point. As well as, you know, like I said, I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. I have a lot of education in that area. I think that's another issue that's not being addressed at all. I think we need to work on our 41% poverty rate. And I really think a lot of it's common sense stuff. I think maybe we don't have someone on the city council with common sense or common sense solutions. I think some of the people have been in there so long, it's become so bureaucratic and they're so part of the system that they've forgotten the needs of the people. And I as one of the people, I feel I've stood up. I'm the one who put the petition out. I got the signatures. We're here and, you know, we're ready for change.
Okay, 30 seconds, closing remarks.
All right,
I'm gonna give you 30 more seconds. Come on.
Atlantic City, listen, this is your chance. This is your chance. We have 3 seats open on the city council. Okay. We have 2 really good people on the city council right now whose seats are not up. With us 3 helping those other 2, we will have the majority to make the positive changes this city needs. We will, if the school board doesn't get it done, we will get the funding for our after school programs. We will lower the poverty rate. We will bring jobs to Atlantic City. Government doesn't create jobs. Government gets out of the way so small businesses and people like yourselves can go into business and create the jobs. And we're going to let you do that.
Matthew, thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for your campaign. Good luck. Ms. Helen, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Matthew. So we're going to bring in our next candidate is Stephanie Marshall. So I will just take a moment to bring Ms. Marshall in, the next candidate for City Council at Large. Again, our council candidates get 2 minutes for an opening statement, 6 minutes of Q&A, and then 1 minute for closing remarks after the 6 minutes of questions. So once we have Ms. Marshall on to confirm that the tech is working, again, Reverend Miller will serve as our, oh, I'm sorry.
That's Miriam.
Miriam,
there you go.
will
She gets the torch.
will serve as our moderator for Stephanie Marshall. So Ms. Marshall, once you're on, if you can just let us know. And then the time will start. And we have a timekeeper who will be putting up signs to let you know what remaining time you have. But again, there's 2 minutes for opening statement, 6 minutes of question and answer, and 1 minute for closing remarks. Can you hear us? Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you now. Okay.
Can you? Oh, there it is. You can see me now?
Yes, welcome. Okay.
All right,
I'm going
thanks.
to turn it over to Miriam. Well, actually, you can start with your opening, 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Okay, start now. Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Stephanie Marshall, running for council at large here in the great city of Atlantic City. I was born and raised here in Atlantic City, went away to college, received my degree in finance and minored in African studies. That was in 2001 when I graduated, came home, volunteered while I was in college, and my professors instilled in me to continue to volunteer and know the issues in your community, as well as knowing and understanding the issues that are happening in the country. When I came home from college, my first stop in volunteering was the NAACP. I was a youth advisor when I graduated from college. And I've served on the Atlantic City Housing Authority Board for 12 years now, serving as the treasurer. I worked for the city of Atlantic City as an accountant, also worked in healthcare as a finance director, and currently work for the Board of Education and the business office. I understand budgeting. I understand federal and state funding, and that's the type of experience I will bring to council. One of my initiatives is also home ownership, affordable home ownership here in the great city of Atlantic City, as well as women in children's services.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marshall. The first question you have for tonight is, what will you propose to bring new businesses and new jobs to Atlantic City?
Well, often you have to start with sometimes giving companies initiatives and to bring them. You know, one thing people have to understand that you have to make the city attractive, and sometimes you have to cut the red tape. One of the things you often hear with people who are interested coming into the city, that is just too much red tape. That is an instant no before there is a yes. So we have to encourage businesses to come into the city. We have to let them know that the doors are open for them to invest their money. If you look at the Orange Loop, I often hear people say, oh, I wouldn't invest over there. Look at the housing and so forth. Well, a lot of the people that are investing over there, they're putting up their own money because they believe in Atlantic City. So we have to find and encourage more people like that to come into Atlantic City, make it more attractive. And also, just most importantly, let them know we're going to cut the red tape and we're willing to say yes when people want to invest their own funds into Atlantic City.
Thank you. What would you do as a city council member to address racial inequities and improve economic and health outcomes for all Atlantic City residents?
What was the ending part? You broke up a little bit of the question.
My apologies. What would you do as a city council member to address racial inequities and improve economic and health outcomes for all Atlantic City residents?
First, we have to acknowledge that racism still exists. That's part of the problem. That's something that's going around this country right now with people not understand. Let's just talk about the Civil War alone. The Civil War was fought to end slavery. A lot of people don't even know that and understand. I think less than 10% of high school graduates know and understand that the Civil War was over slavery. You know, this country has to reckon with what it started started the foundation of what is there. And it's simply is racism, you know, and once we have that conversation, and hopefully we're beginning to have that conversation nationally, we need to have it right here in Atlantic City for us all to understand the foundation and the root of what happens. And, you know, companies have to understand things such as affirmative action. Affirmative action doesn't say, give me the job. Affirmative action says the law requires you to consider me and consider my application, you know, so things like affirmative action is something that we still need in this country, that some Republicans are trying to take away. And once we have just the basic understanding of racism and systemic racism in this country and in this community, I think will bring more people to the table and have more people willing to invest. Since Black Lives Matters and the shootings during COVID, a lot of companies are beginning to say, hi, I understand now. I didn't understand it before, but I understand it now. So we need to have more of that dialogue in order to move forward.
Thank you. How will you plan to engage with the diverse neighborhoods throughout the city as an at-large member of council?
That's just simply understanding, you know, and willing to appreciate where people come from. When I was in college, I was a RA, a residence assistant, and so I would get my list of what students would be on my floor, and I received my list, and I remember it was 4 students to a classroom, and I remember looking at the 4 names and saying how, wow, these 4 students are coming from 4 different countries. I don't know how this is going to work, but hopefully it will. And when they came in, I introduced myself. I let them, made them aware that, listen, I'm your RA. If you have any issues, I'm here. Well, within a couple months, they were hanging out together. They were listening to each other's music. And what I learned from that experience, and what most people should understand, that it's just really, we're all similar. We're all the same. It's just a matter of sitting back, having conversations and dialogue. Of course, I was raised African-American. I love, I love the food, the soul food, but I also like to go and sit and meet with people from other countries, and I like to experience their food and some of their cultures. So it's just a matter of us all just accepting that we're different, but we also the same.
Thank you. What plan or projects would you prioritize with the federal relief dollars Atlantic City will receive through the American Rescue Plan?
Well, with that plan, one of the things that we need to fix in Atlantic City is the flooding. The bulkheads, with the engineers, I understand that there were some issues with some of the construction that happened. We need to fix our infrastructure. That's one of the bills that Biden is trying to pass through the Senate and the House right now. We need some of those funds to come into Atlantic City. So the infrastructure, the boardwalk, repairs on the boardwalk, and hopefully some redevelopment in housing. Like I said, one of my initiatives is affordable quality home ownership. The same way I purchased my home here in Atlantic City. I graduated college in 2001. I went through a program for people with low to moderate income. I was able to purchase my home here in the great city of Atlantic City in 2004. We need more of those programs. I know so many people who want to purchase a home here in the great city of Atlantic City, and we need to open up those opportunities. So hopefully with that federal funding, we can also encourage people to if it's written in the grant, for home ownership, encourage more people to come and purchase homes here in the great city of Atlantic City.
Thank you. With 15 seconds left, what is your opinion of the city's curfew siren?
Unfortunately, it's something that is needed right now with a lot of the crime that's happening with the youth. I know Mayor Marty Small is working on different programs to give youth more opportunities in Atlantic City. And it's sad to say, but unfortunately, it's something that is needed right now. So hopefully, we could stop it soon, but it's definitely needed.
Thank you. And your closing remarks, please.
We asking everyone, please come out and vote column B on November 2nd, beginning with the governor on down to our local seats. That's Mayor Marty Small, myself, Stephanie Marshall, and my two running mates, that is Bruce Week and George Tibbett. We bring to the table a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. What I would bring is that I understand what it is to purchase a home in Atlantic City through a program. I understand budgeting. I understand federal and state funding. I will not be learning on the job. I have the years of experience with sitting on the Housing Authority Board, receiving federal funds. So I will bring that type of experience to the board, to City Council, and I will not be learning on the job.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marshall.
Thank you so much, NAACP. Appreciate you having me this evening.
Thank
Absolutely.
you for taking the time.
And thank you for giving me my first start in volunteering here in the great city of Atlantic City.
Yes, thanks for that plug. Everyone who's listening or watching, volunteers and are always welcome. Thank you again for participating in our forum. We are going to bring in our next candidate.
Thank you.
And our next candidate was in the waiting room. She disappeared, but hopefully will be back any second now. Again, if you're tuning into the radio or watching on YouTube, we are hearing from the City Council candidates for Atlantic City at large. We have 6 candidates running for 3 positions here in Atlantic City. Make sure wherever you are, you read your ballot closely and make sure that you choose the number of candidates, that you're not wasting any votes by only voting for one person if you have the opportunity to vote for more than one. So I'm going to bring up, we just heard from Stephanie Marshall, candidate for Atlantic City Council at large. And now we are going to hear from Maria Laca. I will just take a moment to bring her in from the waiting room. And then we'll get started. Again, we're doing 2 minutes for opening remarks, 6 minutes of Q&A with our branch treasurer, Miriam, again, and then 1 minute for closing remarks. So as soon as we make sure that Maria's audio and video are working, we'll start the time. Nastasia will be our timekeeper again. Again, 2 minutes opening statement, 6 minutes of Q&A, and then 1 minute for closing remarks. So Maria, whenever you're ready, let us know that you can hear us and that you can see us, and then we can get started. Okay. All right, so we're waiting for candidate Maria Laca, and our moderator again for this portion will be Miriam Sarhan. So again, election day is Tuesday, November 2nd, but you can early vote if you're not going to be able to vote on Tuesday. Early voting centers, there are 6 open around the county, and no appointment necessary. You can go and vote on a machine just as you would at your polling location. Maria, are you there?
I'm here.
Hi there. Okay.
Hi, could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okie dokie. And let me, hold on, let me try to. Okay.
There you are. Okay, great.
Here I am. I just want to, hold on.
So,
Oh, jeez.
I'm not sure if you heard me. You'll have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then Miriam will begin the Q&A. So once you get started, we'll start the clock. But we can see and hear you now, so you're good.
Okay, okay. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Okay.
It's whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Go ahead, Miriam.
This is 2 minutes opening for you, Maria.
Okay. So, yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me and the team. So I'm a resident of Atlantic City for 38 years. I've been coming down since 8 years old. I'm from the mainline Pennsylvania. I went to a private academy schooling, and then I went off to marketing and advertising studio school of design in Philadelphia for marketing, advertising, public relations. And when I moved into Atlantic City at a young age, I was one of the first woman-owned businesses in Atlantic City to open up an advertising design firm. And for 30 years later, it's a family business. Our company has been very successful doing business in Atlantic City as well as around the country. We have won television awards, commercial awards. To add, you speaking of volunteering, we have been volunteering. I personally have been volunteering for 35 years. I was actually one to start back so far as Sister Grace's Kitchen. That's how far back I go with volunteering for the city. And boy, do I love Atlantic City. I really do, truly in my heart. I love to help all the children. I've been involved with the back to school children programs, the senior citizen programs. I'm also now in real estate. And within a 2-year tenure, I was a top producer of Atlantic and Cape May County. So I know all about real estate. I know all about home purchasing and home buying. For all
Thank
of
you,
the
Maria. We
You're
will
quite
now need to move on to the questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. For our first question, what will you propose to bring new businesses and new jobs into Atlantic City?
Okay, new businesses, new development. God, there's so many. Being in the advertising and marketing company for many, many, many moons, there has to be great incentives. But I can tell you, as far as from a local standpoint of view, and I keep saying it, it's very important for everyone that we really must clean up Atlantic City in order to have businesses want to come in to do new development. Atlantic City really needs to be cleaned up. We need to be on our top game. So as far as coming up with programs and ideas and again, we're in that business. So that's like an easy thing for me as far as new development. But the first thing we do need to do, Miriam, is to really clean up Atlantic City. And that's one of my platforms that I'd like to see happen quicker, much quicker.
Excellent. What would you do as a city council member to address racial inequities and improve economic and health outcomes for all Atlantic City residents?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as diversity, I think Atlantic City in that department, I think does a great job. I really do. I think, my 30 years living here, I got to tell you that, oh my God, I meet so many business owners and residents. It's really all about putting out more awareness, because we have a lot of events that are so diverse. So we just really need to get out more awareness. But I don't think, in my opinion, that we're lacking so much in Atlantic City, because that's one of the best things I enjoy living in Atlantic City. And I don't come across too much super negativity. I haven't personally. And that's just me. And looking out as in general, speaking as a general thing in our city, I don't see, again, I think just improving upon and putting out more awareness so that people can come together and enjoy each other.
Thank you, Maria. Absolutely. Thank you. How will you plan to prioritize federal relief dollars Atlantic City will receive through the American Rescue Plan?
So, yeah. So, and again, my big to-do is cleaning up Atlantic and, Atlantic City in general too as well, not just Atlantic and Pacific Avenue. I mean, that's just like that's a start from the get-go, from a residential and a business standpoint of view, and also from a tourist standpoint of view. So I think a lot of, some good money has to go towards cleaning up the city. That's where it all begins. From a marketing and public relations standpoint of view, we draw people into the city, but they need to come back. We don't want to, have, people coming and not feeling safe, safety, more police officers, redevelopment for the businesses. So there's a lot there's a list of important things that we absolutely could use some good money. Safety, redevelopment, so forth and so on. Hello?
Excellent. Thank you, Maria. How will you plan to engage with the diverse neighborhoods throughout the city as an at-large member of council?
So, yeah. So I would actually, as if when I'm elected, yay, I would love to meet with each council ward right away, to talk about each ward and each section and go over ideas, and again, it's all about the people in Atlantic City. It is. It's about hearing their voices as well. It's not about sometimes me. I could tell you, Marion, when I did walk, door knocked on 4,000 doors, and I listened. I'm a listener. I like to listen to the people in Atlantic City. And I like to get some feedback on what the residents want and their concerns as well. So I could adopt all of that, bring it into a plan and move forward with it. But the residents of Atlantic City are the most important. This is what it's all about.
Thank you. Maria, what is your opinion of the city's curfew siren?
Oh boy. It sounds a little doom and gloom. To me, sometimes it kind of scares, it's almost scary sounding. So we definitely need to come up with other options. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest with you. So I'd like to think about other options on how to go about that. I don't think the children, the people that the kids that are out there, they're going to stay out there past that 10 o'clock curfew. So regardless, I think, we need to put options on the table for that one.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very, very much. And now you have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Okay. So again, I bring a lot to the table. My whole team brings a lot to the table. So with myself being in the advertising, marketing, public relations, having such a background in new development, making businesses successful, creating campaigns in that area, being one of the top producers in real estate. I mean, there's programs out there for new home ownerships, also in real estate, CO. We could use a little bit more enforcing of the CO as far as for businesses on Atlantic Avenue. So I bring a lot of knowledge. I bring a lot of expertise to the table, and that's what we need. I listen to the residents. I love Atlantic City, and I would love the opportunity, and I humbly ask everyone, whether you're independent, Democrat, or Republican, let's get some good changes in there. Let's vote for a good team. My team.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you, Maria, candidate Maria Laka, and thank you again.
Thank you,
Marianne.
Helen. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to join us. We are going to bring in our next candidate. Again, we are speaking with the at-large, city council at-large candidates. Our next candidate, while we wait for him to join, is Bruce Weeks, is running for council at large. And again, if you're tuning in, we're speaking with city council at large residents. All candidates get 2 minutes for an opening statement, 6 minutes of Q&A, which will be with the NAACP AC branch treasurer, Miriam Sarhan, and then 1 minute for closing remarks. So Bruce, if you are here, we can make sure we can hear you. We can definitely see you. Just do a quick hello so we know that your audio is working.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay, great. So once you start, your time will start. So you'll have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then Miriam will begin the Q&A.
So good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank the NAACP for hosting this forum tonight. I also want to thank the viewing audience for tuning in. As they stated, my name is Bruce E. Weeks. I was born and raised here in the city of Atlantic City. I graduated from Atlantic City High School. I attended Howard University, where I graduated in 2008 with a degree in finance. Shortly thereafter, I moved to New York City, where I started my finance career on Wall Street. I started with a financial tech startup, and then later transitioned to Merrill Lynch. And I moved back to the area in around 2016. One of my first professional jobs was actually with the city of Atlantic City in the Department of Revenue and Finance as the senior accountant, where I got to really help to shore up the finances internally, but also work on a variety of citywide projects to help save the city some money. Currently, I work within the administration for Mayor Small as his constituent services director, where I help to resolve a number and a myriad of different issues for the population in Atlantic City right now, whether it's public works, code enforcement, public safety, you name it. We work on all of that, as well as a number of different citywide programming, most notably the city's first Small Business Academy. We're recently launching the city's first investment cohort to help Atlantic City residents learn how to invest their money. And again, I'm running for council at large, along with Mayor Small, Council President George Tibbett, and Stephanie Marshall on column B.
Thank you, Bruce. Your first question for this evening is, what will you propose to bring new businesses and new jobs into Atlantic City?
So one of the first things that I will mention is we're already kind of working on that now with the Small Business Academy, where we empower residents to learn about every aspect of business. We teach them how to do a business plan, how to incorporate their businesses, how to do marketing, the finance, the accounting, the branding. But we also try to help connect them to the resources throughout the state and some federal money, because what we realize is that Atlantic City doesn't lack talent. We just lack resources most of the time. And most people want to get started, they just don't know how to. So the Academy has done a great job with that. I'm proud to announce that we did graduate recently 44 residents to help, try to get them in some of these storefronts that are vacant on Atlantic Pacific Avenue. But also we need to be more business friendly. We need to develop a small business concierge within the city, as well as what's known as a welcome wagon, so that when people want to open up businesses, it's a more streamlined process. They know exactly where to go to get the information, whether it's permits, whether it's mercantile licenses and things of that nature, but also with zoning. Right now, zoning is kind of all over the place. You have CRETA, who has jurisdiction over certain areas. So we need to centralize that effort through a concierge, a small business concierge, so that it's a little less convoluted and people know exactly how to go about all the different processes.
Excellent. Thank you, Bruce. The second question is, what would you do as a city council member to address racial inequities and improve economic and health outcomes for all Atlantic City residents?
So one of the first things that I want to do actually is I want to conduct a brief study and just figure out from a contract perspective, how much are we spending from the city budget, from the school municipal budget, from the municipal water company budget, as well as the housing authority budget on contracts that go out for bids. Get that aggregate number and then break it down and do an analysis and see what are the most common types of contracts that are being given out or awarded. Take that information and put a set aside for minorities and say, okay, this is the amount that is currently being distributed throughout the city. in terms of contract allocation, and then figure out how to get residents trained and licensed in those particular fields and position them to actually win some of these contracts. Because again, a lot of the times it's not that the commerce isn't going on, it's just that the residents don't know about it, or they don't know where to go find it, and then they don't know how to get trained to properly position themselves to receive some of that money. So I want to do that. I think that'll help kind of level out the playing field from an economic standpoint for our residents who haven't necessarily been able to take advantage of these opportunities in the past. I think that's a great place to start, along again with more small business academy work to help people get off their feet and get started so that they can position themselves to take advantage of a lot of the commerce that goes on throughout our local economy.
Thank you. The next question is, how will you plan to engage with the diverse neighborhoods throughout the city as an at-large member of council?
So that's a very interesting question. I'll never forget when I first started at Merrill, my managing director told me, and he encouraged me to act as I was my own company and develop a board of directors for my own personal self. Meaning if I had a particular area where I needed to get a question answered, I can go to that particular person and they could serve as my advisor. I would do the same on council. I would partner with all the various civic associations. We have a various amounts of different multicultural organizations and have that leadership interface directly with me so that we're in sync. I'm deeply in touch with the needs in that community and that we're meeting on a regular basis. But not only that, but they have a chance to hold me accountable. And if I say I'm going to do something for them or I'm working on something, they have an inroads to say, okay, we can go to Bruce as our councilman at large. We know that he's coming to this meeting. We know that we worked on these particular line items. We're doing good in this spot, but we're not doing good here. We need to address these issues further and then collaborate with my other council members as well as the ward council people. I think if council had more synergy, you would see a lot more of that being done. I hope to bring that to council next year.
Thank you very much. What plan or projects would you prioritize with the federal relief dollars Atlantic City will receive through the American Rescue Plan?
So first and foremost, I think that we need to get to the basics first with that money. I think we need to do a citywide paving of any and all streets that need to be paved. I think that's brass tacks. I think that needs to be done yesterday. Secondly, I think we need to continue to shore up our resiliency with bulkheading and things of that nature so that we are ahead of the flooding issue. I think that this current administration has done a great job with receiving outside grant money for that, but I would like to augment that with some of these federal dollars. I would also like to have some startups set aside money for minority businesses who, minority residents who want to get their businesses started, because a lot of this startup capital that's out there, they have very stringent requirements. I think with this money, we can help get people off their feet and into business. And then lastly, I think that we need to increase the amount of youth programming, whether it's recreational programming after school, whether it's STEM, technology, the arts. I think we need to take some of that money, and our youth need that money for programming.
Excellent, thank you. How will you ensure that development decisions do not displace or otherwise negatively impact communities of color and or low-income neighborhoods?
And when you say develop, you mean just like real estate development?
The question was, how will you ensure that development decisions do not displace or otherwise negatively impact communities of color and or low-income neighborhoods? And I did see that we were out of time for the Q&A. You do have 1 minute for your closing remarks. If you wish to take some of that time to answer that question, you may, or you can just close your remarks now.
Okay, well, I'll try to take a stab at it. I've been preaching for months since we started this campaign about community benefits agreements. We must get in front of large scale development so that we have set asides for our minority community as well as our longstanding residents who've been here for decades. I'm running again on a platform of economic justice. Many of you knew my father. He spent decades trying to level out the playing field within the justice system. I strongly believe it's going to be my mission and legacy to level out that same playing field, but on the economic end. And it all starts with, my first year on council and putting forth programs and initiatives to help accomplish that goal. Again, I think we need to have more equitable systems. We need more transparency. residents need to feel empowered that they can go after these opportunities and actually be awarded with things to help them grow out of their situations. Because we all see when governments try to cut spending here and there, that it really sometimes has an adverse effect. Just look at what happened in 2015 when they cut the REC, but property taxes were still pretty much unstable. We need to, again, make sure that we have leadership development programs for our youth because they have no opportunities to come home to. And lastly, we need to set the foundation to diversify this economy. And hopefully it will be my legacy that that industry, we're no longer solely relying upon the casino industry, because what we've noticed over the decades is that when they catch a cold, the rest of us in the community and the rest of the county catch pneumonia, and that has to end.
Thank you very much, Bruce.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
concludes your time.
Thank you for taking the time to join us. That was Bruce Weeks, candidate for council at large in Atlantic City. Our next candidate is Councilman George Tibbett. And while we wait for Councilman Tibbett to join our forum, I'm going to, for those watching on the YouTube page, we're bringing up just a one-page screen with some background information and focus areas that the candidates submitted to us. So again, we're hearing from the candidates for council at large, and our next candidate is Councilman George Tibbett. And if you can, all right, we can see you. Let's just do a quick audio check.
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just going to raise it a little. I can barely hear you though.
Okay, well, I can hear you clearly.
Okay.
Miriam will be asking questions. So you'll start with a 2-minute opening statement. Miriam will then do 6 minutes of Q&A, and then you'll be given 1 minute for closing remarks. So whenever you begin, our timekeeper will start the clock.
Good evening, and thank you for having me to the NAACP meeting tonight. My name is George Tibbett. I am your current council president. I am a councilman at large. I've been your councilman at large for 4 terms now. I am a lifelong resident of Atlantic City. My family was one of the very first settlers here, and I'm still here. My sons and my grandchildren live here, participate in the Atlantic City public school system, where we always felt that we have to be part of the city. We have to be part of our public schools and make things great for everybody again in the city of Atlantic City. And my career, I went to Atlantic City High School. When I graduated Atlantic City High School, I went to Local 30 apprenticeship program out of Philadelphia, where I learned to be an estimator and superintendent. Right as I graduated, I went to work for John Sykes Company, a company that's a Atlantic City business that was 105 years old. And I was the youngest superintendent at the age of 23 years old, where I was responsible for just about every casino in town, convention centers, all your shopping malls, major commercial development. One of my biggest achievements was always female minority participation, having the numbers that I've always had, where I always made sure I had female and minority participation, as well as re-entry people. One of my greatest achievements in life in my work industry has always been, and it's the most proud of, is people that have gotten out of jail and come to work for us and became journeyman roofers, sheet metal men, or cement finishers, and watching them become fabulous fathers, making sure their children didn't make the same mistakes that they did, and watching them go buy their first home and provide for their families. So that was something to me that I could never, ever achieve again in life. And it's something that I would like to continue to do, as well as council president, as a councilman at large.
Thank you, George. Your first question for this evening will be, what will you propose to bring new businesses and new jobs into Atlantic City?
Okay, you went out for a second there. Okay, I meet regularly with a lot of the big players in Atlantic City, casino executives, business owners, and business people that want to come into town and develop. The number one issue that they hit us with is our social services and the people all over the streets, the people addicted to drugs, the people with mental illness, the homelessness. They are afraid to develop in Atlantic City until we get this problem under control. and it's something that I pledge to work on completely, is to help revamp our social services so that they can work for the people in need as well as the residents and the business owners, so that we can get that confidence so that people will come here and invest. We are a tourist destination on the beach. People love Atlantic City. We got to work together to clean it up.
Excellent, thank you. What would you do as a city council member to address racial inequities and improve economic and health outcomes for all Atlantic City residents?
Well, I would continue to do what I've been doing, participate and welcome every different racial background out there, whether it's the South Asians, the Black community, the Spanish community. We are too small of a town. I look at people in this city as Atlantic City Blue. We're all brothers and sisters in this town. There's no room. If you look at our census, it's very well balanced of everybody. And when I walk this town, people look at each other like people. I don't feel we have the problems that a lot of places in America do. And I'm very proud of all my fellow council members, the way we help the entire city as brothers and sisters of Atlantic City. As far as the economics, I've been doing that my whole life. Like I said in my opening statement, I'm very proud of the numbers of hiring female, minorities, and most importantly, re-entry people, and helping them redo their lives as well to get on the straight and narrow.
Thank you very much. How will you plan to engage with the diverse neighborhoods throughout the city as an at-large member of council?
Okay, I'm going to continue doing what I always do, participate, be in their communities, be at their, their birthdays, their funerals, their just every day going out, if they're playing cricket, going out and learning their sport, so letting them learn our sport. Just participate and embrace all the different wonderful backgrounds that we have in this city. One day I actually went to a mosque, a Catholic church, and a synagogue. Where in the world do you get to do something like that? It's amazing when I tell my friends the different backgrounds of the people of this great city of Atlantic City. It's such a learning experience to learn off of one another's backgrounds.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Tibbett. What plans or projects would you prioritize with the federal relief dollars Atlantic City will receive through the American Rescue Plan?
Okay, most importantly, we got to be very careful because it's very tricky what you can and can't do with it. Number one, do not touch a penny of that money for any infrastructure yet, because we have the $2.5 to $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill coming out that could help us with things like the boardwalk, our streets, and all types of infrastructure. That money is for stimulus, to stimulate the programs, help the small businesses that have been hurting, give the loans out to some of the bigger and smaller businesses, and because they're loans and the money can come back to us. And there's all types of programs like what the mayor did with the lost revenue. That $9 million in lost revenue, could you imagine with the pilot, that would have came on the homeowner side of the tax ledger, where we would have had to make that $9 million up. So we were very fortunate to be able to use that $9 million to offset the taxes this year as well.
Thank you. What is your opinion of the city's curfew siren?
I'm not being funny here, but I want to tell you something. One thing that I learned from being on the street talking about the curfew is our seniors, they like it because, honest to God, they said it reminds them to take their medicine at 10 o'clock, and I'm not being funny. Secondly, I think during the summer, that curfew was perfect the way it is. But right now, when you have children going to bed at 8 and 9 o'clock at night, or younger ones, and that loud siren goes off, it's something that I have to talk to my councilman and the fellow mayors about, and the mayor about, because they're already in bed and they're waking up with this loud siren. So we have to have a happy medium now that school's back in session, as well as you hear that ice cream truck out there at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. When our children are in bed, they don't want to hear an ice cream truck or a siren waking them up when they got to wake up for school bright and early, because we know well-rested and well-fed children, they do very well in school.
Excellent. How will you ensure that development decisions do not displace or otherwise negatively impact communities of color and or low-income neighborhoods?
Well, the only way that could happen is if they can count to 5 and have a mayor that allows it. One thing, having allies on city council that trust you and believe in you, and where you can work together to make sure that all development is fair and that we're not targeting any one area of whether it be a race or economic backgrounds. It's very important to have relationships because we have to work together to make sure that happens. No one person can make it happen. No one person can stop it from happening. And that's why it's important to work well with your colleagues and the sitting mayor of Atlantic City to make sure stuff doesn't happen like that and to protect the people of good people of Atlantic City.
Thank you very much. Last question with about 40 seconds. Oh, we're out of time. Thank you very much. You now have 1 minute for closing remarks, Mr. Tibbett.
Thank you again for all of you, and I humbly ask you to please vote for column B, all the way down from the top to the bottom, especially Mayor Smalls, Bruce Weeks, Stephanie Marshall, and myself, George Tibbett. I feel with the team we have working right now, City Council up there, we are well on our way to fixing this city. The strides that we've made in the last 2 years, we're getting the proper funding sent back to Atlantic City that we sent to Trenton and the federal government. Don't mess things up now. It's working well. Having Bruce come in, a very intelligent young man that already has 2 years in government experience, there's not going to have to be much of a learning curve for him. Stephanie, with her work at the school board and the housing authority, I'm very excited about our team. I feel we are the best team for the job. We are the most equipped, and there will be no learning on the job with the two people coming on city council with me. Thank you very much, and God bless America.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tibbett.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you for joining us.
Good night, everybody be safe.
We just heard from Councilman George Tibbett, who is running for re-election. So we do have Rizwan Malik, who was our earlier candidate. I'm going to have him join us. He was having tech issues, but unfortunately, because of our program, we won't be able to do the full, because of the tight timeline of our program, we won't be able to do the full Q&A. So once he is on and we see that his microphone, his audio is working, if he can just take 2 minutes for opening remarks and tell us a little bit about his priority issues. And for this, I can, to our timekeeper, I can keep the time for this. Former Councilman Rizwan Malik, if you can unmute yourself so that we know that you're on.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. So unfortunately, because of our program, if you can just take 2 minutes, tell us a little bit about yourself and about what your priorities will be in council, and you can start now.
Yes, first of all, good evening, everybody. My name is Rizwan Malik. I'm running for City Council at large for Atlantic City on column A, number 9. I lived in Atlantic City for many years, and I've been in the service industry all my life. I was a service manager for a restaurant so many years, and then I went to a financial mortgage banker for 7 years. And then I was a U.S. Postal Service mailman. So service is my expertise, and that's what I'm good at. So I've been talking to people all the time, all my life. So, and then, you know, I am also a certified trainer. I'm a certified coach. I'm a certified team building skills. And I also coach soccer. I also teach martial arts self-defense. So I'm involved with the youth groups. I have a youth motion with the soccer. So I've been in this industry for all my life. So, and also I was a city council back in 2012, and I have done a lot of things and a lot of good things for the Atlantic City. I also was involved in a petition saving of Atlantic City water. I was involved in tax petitions. I wanted to reduce our taxes. I did a lot of tax rallies. I was in the newspaper. And also I made an ordinance for the streets to fix our streets. So I've been in the industry with customer service all my life. So I'm trying to run again. I think Atlantic City needs a lot of work. So I'm trying to come back. And I think youth, they took all the youth programs around 2015, and because they said they didn't have the money. And I think we need to do a lot of work on that area. And that also we need to reduce our taxes, and I'm going to work hard on that side. And also I was doing a monthly business
Councilman?
meetings that people needed. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Your time is up.
Councilman.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for joining us. I apologize that we had that you had tech issues earlier, but Councilman Rizwan Malik is also running for City Council for one of the 3 seats. We do have to transition now to the mayoral portion of our program. And we just heard from the 6 candidates who are running for City Council. There are 3 positions. So for this portion, again, as President Shabazz mentioned earlier, the League of Women Voters of Atlantic County is a co-sponsor of this program, and we are going to hear from 5 of the 6 candidates. We are going to begin with Councilman Mo Delgado, who is running for mayor, and I will just take a moment to let the councilman into our platform, and we'll do a quick audio check, and then we're going to begin with this portion of the program. For Councilman Delgado, the moderator will be our PAC co-chair, Reverend Stafford Miller, and we will have, for the mayoral candidates, I should say, 2 minutes for an opening statement, 11 minutes of question and answer, and then 1 minute for closing remarks. And our timekeeper will be putting up signs to notify our moderator and our candidate. So Councilman, can you hear us? And can you do a quick mic check? 11 minutes. Yeah, you have to turn the YouTube streaming or the radio off. There's a slight delay. So can you hear us now?
Forgive me, you're really kind of dead. And I have a mini studio with additional speakers, and there's barely any sound. So I'll try to adapt to it.
Well, Reverend Miller, can you?
You're testing. Can you hear me now, Mr. Delgado?
Yes, as you're speaking into the microphone clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'll do, I'll use my my preaching voice when it's your turn. Okay.
Oh, outside of that, there's actually a mechanism in Zoom where you can lift the volume, the retention, the sensitivity, so you can pick up the microphones a lot easier.
Okie dokie. But we're good. But you're good at hearing me, though, right? That's the most important thing.
At the moment, I am. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll take a moment at a time. Now, great. Okay, now you have 11 minutes, 2 minutes for opening remarks and a minute for closing. So you're on. Share. Who is Mo Delgado?
Well, it's our time, Atlantic City. Mo Delgado has been your councilman at large on the dais forever. Not only have I represented on the dais, but in the community mostly. I'm famous for all the activities I've done. I've actually been the one most active in the community by doing a community initiatives by anyone in my position, I think, ever. But I'm blessed to be able to do that because of the partnerships that we've developed in the city. I've also blessed to be part of a unified effort to try to unify the city, not by just words, but by action. This is now closing up my 12th year, assisting the city, what we can possibly do as working together as a bond, as the council president had mentioned before. But unfortunately, politics has played too often a role, and people visually see it whenever they watch these meetings. However, knowing that sometimes there's barriers at that dais, I understood that what I needed to do is go to the people and making sure the people got whatever assistance they could. I created food banks. I created initiatives to help people through the holidays. I was there when Superstorm Sandy came in and people were leaving the town. I was here. I had to make sure, because I took it. It's an intimate connection, dedication for everyone that calls the city home. It's not to be played with. It's not a game. It's not just a place where people can enjoy themselves to entertain and relax. It's home. So we have to treat it. And we also have to treat it in a better way to understand that we're all neighbors and friends, because politics plays a game so often. And some of us here in this situation playing these games in politics, we've been divided. So my efforts are to try to unify the city, to try to uplift it, bring development and bringing a human asset to the forefront, and stop living a lie that someone else has created for Atlantic City too long. It is our time, Atlantic City. So it's going to take all of us to play a part to make Atlantic City meet its full potential.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Your first question. Atlantic City has over 2,400 parcels of tax-exempt land. What will you do to reduce the number of tax-exempt parcels?
Well, first off, we have to find out what the tax exempt is. We understand that the CRDA has been too long a land banker, and they've utilized that as being an asset for the state and utilizing for other negotiable elements throughout the city. We understand that that works against us too often because the actual taxable properties are taking the whole full bear, and it's really unfortunate. What I'd like to see if we can really communicate and convert some of these properties that haven't been used and convert them into community centers for our communities. Also create mini stations for the police departments to be directly in the communities. I think that's more of an asset than the scope of trying to piecemeal our city and to sell it to some huge developer, as the dream says, where our real development comes from inside to help our Atlantic City residents to become homeowners and business owners here and really solidify by giving everybody a piece of what home is.
Thank you. In your first 100 days as mayor, what will you do?
Breathe. Most importantly, because the 100 days seems to be the most, I said, tempestuous time, because within 100 times you have so much that you have to work against. But I want to make sure that I establish relationships with the state because they're there. I want to make sure that the relationship with the community is reestablished and then reinforced because it's always been there but been denied. I want to make sure that the administration that gets put together understanding that we have one role, and that's to serve our people, not ourselves. So the first 100 days is going to be one that's difficult. I'm not going to be fanfaring. I'm not going to be in front of pictures too often. I'm going to be too busy in the rooms, doing what I have to do in the offices and making sure that the people who work for the city feel comfortable and feel good about working for the city. But as long as they're providing the best services to our constituents and the residents that pay property taxes in here, they can feel better about it and we can move forward together.
Thank you. As mayor-elect, what will you do about our environmental issues, such as increased flooding?
Oh, environmental issues are real. We've been talking about it for at least 10 years. When the Jacques Cousteau Institute came out about flooding, no one seemed to pay attention to that stuff. So we're going to have to look and revisit the whole plan about water mitigation, making sure that all of the bulkheads in the city are all of them rebuilt, probably lifted to a more reasonable rate, considering the way weather anomalies have taken place, like this one that we're pending now. There's a flood issue right now for the next 24 hours. We have to be concerned about that. So water mitigation is extremely important. Also, making sure that we reinforce what we have in plan, the jetties, the beaches, all those things, our piping systems underneath, making sure that they're clear of any clutter and garbage, and making sure the pumps are running at full speed and full capacity at all times and ready to make sure that we take out the water from the city so people don't have to feel like they have waterfront property where there's no water supposed to be.
Anti-poverty strategies, what might some of yours be?
We have to get the idea that people don't always have to work for other people. They can work for themselves. So my idea is more so to reinforce programs and training to help develop the human element in individuals. The more they own that whole sense of ownership and entrepreneurship, the more they put into it, the more proud is into it, and then develop the ecosystem. So we'll learn how to lean on one another and then develop a greater ecosystem, financial ecosystem, so that trickles into the community directly. Too often we've loved to have this idea that we need to work for big corporations when people in general work better under their own means, and they have to give the right type of resources and education so they can do so. And then we have to go and actively support these small businesses, not just talking the big game, but actively supporting these businesses, because these businesses are our neighbors, and pouring into them pours back into our community. It's really important that we do that.
How will you make sure that new development decisions don't displace or negatively impact the community?
Well, we have to revisit that whole concept of a community business agreement. When we talk about development programs, we have to make sure the community's involved. That's one thing I'd like to instill. The circle of elders, or the table of elders, which represent the entire community, come to the table. So when a developer has something in plan, you have to bring it to them so they'll understand what's there. Don't give them any kind of smoke and mirrors. Tell them the honest truth of what it is, and then we can try to measure how we can make it work. So it's ownership, not only for the developer, but for the community that's impeded. Because too often things happen behind closed doors and agreements happen, and then the impact hits the community and they'll get lied to, and that's not fair of them. They should not be lied any longer. They should be involved in this whole process from the beginning until the end. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question here about regular street sweeping and cleaner sidewalks in the residential areas. What will you do about that?
Well, what we have to reinforce is our public works department. They've been dismantled and disseminated all over the place. Areas where we know of importance have been basically spoon-fed to other communities. We need to make sure that we have what we need in our communities, have our trucks back out there, have these individuals who are experts in knowing how to handle this equipment out there so we can understand and have that comfort that they're doing it on a regular basis, more than just once a week, having our garbage disposal being done properly and outside the city and more frequently so we won't see garbage just thrown around and left around. But at the same point in time, we have to make those that are responsible for this garbage accountable for it. So it's a whole cycle of things. So reinforcing the public works department, give everyone opportunities to have the proper tools to do so they can execute the master plan as necessary.
The state takeover of Atlantic City was extended. What do you see as the pros and the cons of this new arrangement?
Well, I think it's going to take at the end of this state takeover to really measure our pros and cons, because there's a lot of hoopla talking about we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and things happen. Life gets in the way, and the way business has been, it's always been small, minimal advantages for our city. What we have to do is continue to navigate through what's afforded us, giving opportunities for us to develop in the city what needs to get done within the infrastructures that we need, and help us give room so we can develop inside for our people here, and stop waiting for someone else to always give us an okay or no with exceptions or conditions that we know are unfair and unrealistic. That's been the problem. Politics always seems to get in the way.
What makes Mo Delgado qualified to serve as the mayor of the great city of Atlantic City?
I am a product of the city of Atlantic City, so I know about it. I have sand in my shoes, and I grew up through the hardships of Atlantic City. I grew up in communities that sometimes were so distraught they had no kinds of hope, but I had it. I understand what it is to struggle, to have nothing, to finally find something, and then open doors for others. My understanding comes from working in the community, not only as a social worker, but working as human development and people. That's essential. A mayor is supposed to be the representative of the city so they can welcome new development, also negotiate inside through the proper business administration so the business of the city is done properly, making sure everything's abreast, everything's above board, and making sure everything is legal to have all the advantages we can to our taxpayers, our businesses, and the people who call Atlantic City home. So the mayor, like myself, has to come from the people, have to represent the needs of the people, but can understand and reflect and respond at the present situation, the economic decline and the hardships and poverty that exist, and not deny that to be happening. Let's not go with the falsehoods that it's a great day in Atlantic City. It can get better, but it's going to take a lot of work, like I've said before. There is no Superman, but there's always a super plan, and we all have to play a part into it. We all have to play a part into it.
Racial equity in city policies and programs that you would promote in advance, what might they be?
Okay. Well, we have to revisit this whole concept, because I love how the understanding of racial equity is involved. Sometimes people like to play games about racial equity or equality when it's not really equal whatsoever. The resources aren't available on an upgrade. There's always about a who knows who. And in the basis of color and race, we have to make sure that we respect one another. Even in a situation where I'm speaking to such an honorable group of individuals, the NAACP, there's been times where we have no representation from the people who are supposed to support us based on race, national agenda, or sexual preference. We need to all respect one another by understanding each other's strengths, not keep focusing on the weaknesses, and to make sure that opportunities are easily available for everyone. Making it equal is going to take some work, because we've been pulled behind for so long, but there's a way to do so, and do so respectively of everyone. Everyone deserves a chance. We may come from different regions, no question about that, but here in Atlantic City, we're one family. I'm not going to sing Kumbaya because that was too placid of a song back in the past, but I'm going to say hope is in the horizon.
Diversity.
Mm-hmm.
How can you bridge the diversity? Our city is rich in culture and class and color and origin. How will you bridge all that together?
Come on, let's get it, preacher. Let's get it, because it is. We are filled with beauty when it comes to diversity of our city. We have wonderful representations of people all over the nation. What we don't have is the empathy and then the sympathy to understand our struggles for the people who have gotten here. If we learn more about our people by creating programming to identify everyone's original path and their roots to get here, maybe we'll understand that our struggles are similar. If we understood and respected that sometimes the issues that we have here are not the issues of someone abroad, and we assume that people have to adopt our issues. No, our issues are ours for the carry. That makes us who we are as a strong people. But we understand everyone has a story. But we have enough pages in this book called Life that everyone deserves a chance to tell their story. In Atlantic City, because we're such an amazing cornucopia of beautiful people from around the world, we got a whole lot of listening to do, because too often it's been manipulated by one or two out of all of the different colors, and we have to stop that. Reality speaking is that we know our origins. We know where we come from. Let's be strong about that stuff, but expect nothing but the best when it comes to being examples of diversity by opening the doors to everyone else.
Atlantic City has a high percentage of renters. How do we transition renters to being homeowners?
Well, that has to do with personal issue, because realistically speaking, even in large urban communities or large cities, there's sometimes higher capacity of renters versus owners. One is because of the cost wise. Not everyone can afford these exorbitant prices for the property themselves, but they'd like to live in the community. Everyone should get a chance. We should have a better quality of renting options. We should have a wider scale of options available for those that would prefer to rent versus own. However, open up opportunities so people who really desire to own, that they can learn how to own and to maintain, not just to buy and get those funds to get it, but to keep it along for many, many years. That's how we build diversity in our community, because we should have multiple frames of people economically living in our communities. That's how the best workout. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You've answered all of the questions that we have described for you, but you have a minute left for your closing remarks.
Okay. Well, I am so encouraged to believe that what's right will come about. Me, I'm Mo Delgado. I've been the loudmouth sometimes, or the big guy up on the dais all the time, because I ask the right questions for the right time, for the right purpose. I don't get along to get along when things are done wrong. I don't get along to get along just because the mass of the people. Sometimes the right thing to do is not always the popular thing to do. And I've always stood strong in who I am and what I represent. I love Atlantic City. I put my neck out for Atlantic City, fought from DC here, not just in front of the camera, but areas where I was almost thrown in jail to fight for the city. Not many people can say that, but that's fine. That's not a credit pat my back. That's just the dedication I have. Atlantic City, you deserve more, and you deserve more. And that's why I say it's our time. I'm your candidate in the F section. Why am I there? Because I stand out away from everyone else. I am pure. I am genuine. I'm authentic. I'm your neighbor. I'm your family. It's Atlantic City. It's our time, y'all. You know what you need to do.
Mr. Delgado, it's our pleasure in meeting you. Thank you for sharing your hopes, dreams, aspirations, and good luck in your campaign.
God bless.
Take care.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Ellen?
Thank you, Reverend Miller. Thank you, Councilman. We just heard from Mo Delgado, who is running to be mayor of Atlantic City. We are hearing from the mayoral candidates now. Next up is, I will bring him into the room from the Zoom waiting room. And for those watching on YouTube, I will bring up his candidate profile on the screen. Next up, we have candidate Steve Layman. Again, we are hearing from the candidates for Atlantic City Mayor, and we will hear from Steve Layman next. Each mayor will have 14 minutes of time. That includes 2 minutes for an introduction, 11 minutes of Q&A, and Miriam Sarhan will be the moderator for this portion, and then 1 minute for closing remarks. So Mr. Layman, if you're on.
I'm here.
Okay, I can see you, I can hear you. So once you get
Hear me
started,
now.
I'm in and out.
No, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, you're good. So once you begin your opening statement, the time will start.
Good evening, and thank you, NAACP, for inviting me to your meeting tonight. I wish it was in person. I do better when I'm in front of an audience. Sitting here in front of a computer screen is rather difficult for me, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I have leadership, experience, vision, and commitment. I've been a South Jersey mayor. Good evening, and my name is Steve Layman, and I am asking you for your vote. I have been a resident of our city for 23 years. Prior to becoming a resident of Atlantic City, I served as a South Jersey mayor, a deputy mayor, Planning Board Vice Chairman, Board of Education Vice Chairman, a police officer and a volunteer fireman in the township of Hainsport, my prior hometown. For the last 10 years, I am a member of the Legalized Games of Chance Control Commission. For the last 5 years, I am the chairman. I was appointed and vetted by the New Jersey Judicial Senate Committee. Most of my working life, I've been self-employed in the financial services industry. I am securities licensed, holding a Series 6 registration. I do financial planning. Since becoming a resident of Atlantic City, my wife and I have had a book giveaway program to where we give away over 5,000 books. And I also would like to bring to light that a group of business friends and I got together with a program called Operation Warms Coats, where we raised money to give new winter coats to students in the Atlantic City elementary schools, along with schools in Pleasantville, Summers Point, and Vineland. And last Thanksgiving, my wife and I donated 150 turkeys to local residents. I am asking you for your vote, for I currently hold public office as a commissioner with our state of New Jersey. I've been a South Jersey mayor. I know what it takes to make our city prosper. Please support and vote for Steve Layman. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Layman. Your first question is, what will be your first priority in your first 100 days of office?
Raise the wage. My whole campaign is about an $18 an hour minimum wage. I believe that if we increase the wages of our city residents, our city will do much better. If you work full and part-time in Atlantic City, you deserve $18 an hour.
Excellent. Atlantic City has over 2,400 parcels of tax-exempt parcels at an assessed value that is more than double the assessed value of taxable parcels. Do you have a plan to reduce the number of tax-exempt parcels? And what are the other ways we can increase our rateable base?
Currently, our rateable base is about $3 billion. At one time, it was close to $20 billion when you include the casinos. We're up against it because we have a pilot program where the casinos are fenced in with the amount of money that they pay our city. We need to do a better job in planning and zoning. I would like to create a hybrid zoning and planning board to where we do business development at that level. We need qualified people who understand zoning and planning to make our city more prosper and to give the city residents an opportunity for home ownership. 2,400 parcels of property that are sitting empty can be built upon, and those opportunities should go to the city residents first.
Thank you. How do you plan to address the city's environmental issues, such as increased flooding?
The increased flooding comes by way of, we have a problem with the back bays. We haven't really done a good job in dredging those back bays. I think there is a plan on the way that we will be dredging some of the back bays if we develop Bader Field, stripping away the topsoil from Bader Field, then using the back bay silt to fill in Bader Field to a level to where we could build on that. We need to understand that if you take a look at Bungalow Park, the flooding that happens at a full moon, we have a northeastern that's going to hit tonight. Those areas of our community that the bulkheads are not completed must be completed. We need to do a better job at flood management. There are plans from outside the city that are coming in. I talked to a guy named Tom Cork. Everybody knows Tom. He's intimate and really involved in doing a great job with the flooding and the master plan on how we need to handle Absecon Island as a whole.
Thank you very much. Atlantic City has a high percentage of residents who are renters, as well as a high overcrowded rate within its housing stock, according to census data. If elected, what will be your plan for affordable housing for low and middle income residents?
Well, currently the average wage in Atlantic City is below $15 an hour. My plan to raise the wage to a minimum of $18 an hour will give everybody an opportunity to be a home owner. If you're making $37,400 a year, that's $18 an hour times 40. And then if you have a an adult partner who's in the house making that kind of money, that's over $75,000 a year. If you're making over $75,000 a year, my background tells me that you should be able to afford a $225,000 mortgage and be able to pay that home. And that's how we need to take care of the home ownership in our city. We need to get our people more money.
Thank you. What anti-poverty strategies will you implement while in office to address the high poverty rates among Atlantic City's families?
Well, one of the problems we have, which is very disturbing to me, is we have a high mortality rate. And the reason we have a high mortality rate is our people are not making enough money. If people need to make more money, if we give more money in their pocketbook, the infant mortality will dissipate and we will see people do much better. If we give people more money, they'll spend more money in the city. And that's what it's really about. We can no longer have people working for less than $15 an hour.
Thank you. How will you ensure that development decisions do not displace or otherwise negatively impact communities of color and/or low-income neighborhoods?
Well, my hybrid zoning and planning board, combining those two boards together, will call for a responsibility that each councilman will have an appointment to that board, and the mayor should sit on that board. So if we have 6 city councilmen at council and 3 councilmen at large, each one of those people should get an appointment, and those appointments should be seriously taken. They should be the best and the brightest that we have in our city to come together and do a hybrid zoning and planning board to where our main focus is developing and maintaining our housing stock and doing a better job. And someone's got to talk about the landlords who are in our community. We're about 70% of our people are landlords. They have not done a good job in taking care of their properties. And we need code to step up to the plate and get the landlords to do a much better job in taking care of those properties. And the people would do a lot better in living in better homes.
Thank you. The state takeover of Atlantic City has been extended. What do you see as the pros and cons of this arrangement?
Well, for the last 6 years, or I'm sorry, 5 years, the state of New Jersey's been here, and they came here at a very difficult financial time. If you remember the 2 Kevins who came out of Detroit, they had a plan to bankrupt the city. Unfortunately, the Assembly and the Senate did not concur. And at that time, Chris Christie and Senator Sweeney were not in favor of it. They came in with the Municipal Stabilization Recovery Act, which is a very onerous document that tells the city what we need to do. We have not done a good job in managing the city's finances. That's why the state of New Jersey has extended it, or what they call 2.0. At the end of the day, we need to re-examine how we handle the city's finances. We have not done a good job, and that's why the state's here. And that's on the prior council and the current mayor's office. They were intimately involved in creating a financial hardship and ruining the taxes and increasing the taxes to our city and residents.
Thank you, Mr. Layman. What needs to get done in City Hall to ensure more regular street sweeping and cleaner sidewalks in the residential areas?
Hey, it's a very simple process. You need to get the street cleaners to do what they're supposed to be doing every day, all day. Seems like city government, as I view it when it comes to public works, they don't have a routineness. They don't have a plan. They just haphazardly go out and do what they need to do. One of the problems that we've had pre-COVID, we were doing 50 tons of trash a day. During COVID, we're doing 70 tons of trash a day. We did not have enough trash totes or containers to pick up the trash. How do you go about increasing the amount of trash per day and not have enough totes? We need to dedicate some of that COVID relief money. We have a public health crisis emergency. We need to do a better job in cleaning our city, and it needs to get done immediately. So in the first 100 days, I will access some of that money that we have coming in from the COVID funds, and we will get some trash containers and we will clean our city because we do have a healthcare emergency.
Thank you. How will you determine the racial equity of city policies and programs that your administration might promote and advance?
Hey, we have a wonderful city, a very diverse city. I think I heard when the last time I was at a Board of Education graduation that almost 30 different languages are being spoken in our homes in our city. We have a wonderful, diverse city. I think the city is on the right track. I think we could do a little bit better job in tweaking those areas of the city that we just brought in a group of Afghanis who are just coming in from Afghanistan. Catholic Charities did a wonderful job opening up their arms in a loving, caring fashion. Taking care of our residents is the foremost of the mayor's responsibility. And with good agencies and good organizations, good civic organizations, we can continue to do a better job.
Thank you very much, Mr. Layman. Tell us a bit more about what makes you uniquely qualified to serve as the mayor of Atlantic City.
First of all, I was a South Jersey mayor. I've been self-employed for the most of my adult life. I'm a financial planner by trade. I'm a landlord. I have several properties in Atlantic City. I take care of those properties. I make sure that they're well taken care of. And as your mayor, I can assure you that the living wage and that the cannabis tax that we'll be collecting moving forward will be given to the senior citizens as a stimulus check. We need to increase the amount of money that our senior citizens have. If you take a look at most senior citizens are living on less than $12,000 a year. We have about 5,600 senior citizens in Atlantic City, and we have 28,000 adults. 41% of our people are living in poverty. We need to increase the wages. We need to do it immediately. We need to get the stimulus money to the senior citizens by way of the cannabis tax. It's a tax that it's unanticipated revenue, and we really need to get that to our citizens.
Excellent. And with about 15 seconds left, if you were not running for mayor, which of the other candidates for mayor would you vote for?
That's a very difficult question. I have to tell you that I have become friends with Tom Forkin, Dr. Panay, Mo Delgado, and Jimmy Whitehead. We have treated each other with the utmost respect whenever we had a debate or a discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Layman. Your time is up.
That was a difficult one. So your time is up. So in a way, you're being let off a bit easy. But you do have 1 minute for closing remarks. So you may continue your thoughts or just 1 minute what you want to share with the voters of Atlantic City.
Ladies and gentlemen of the NAACP, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I plan to tell you that I have been a South Jersey mayor. I am a businessman. I am a landlord. I'm a granddad of 9 children under the age of 9. I am a kind person. I know what it takes to manage our city. I've done this before. I've taken those late night calls. I had to deal with officers who were hurt on the job. I've had firemen who had difficulties in doing their positions as firemen. I understand. I've been a police officer. I've been a volunteer fireman. I want to be your mayor. I think I'm the best qualified. And please raise the wage, support Steve Layman. Let's get that money, the cannabis money, out to our senior citizens. We need to do a better job for our city. It's not about me. It's about you. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Thank you
Am I
both.
still on? You want me to talk more?
No, we're good. Thank you so much. Thank you for participating. We just heard from Steve Layman. Thank you, Miriam, for serving as moderator. Steve Layman is running for to be the next mayor of Atlantic City. Our next candidate, I believe our next candidate is logged in, just named iPhone or phone. So I'm gonna let this person in, and let's hope that that's who it is. And if not, I will remove this person and we will move on to the next candidate who's already in the waiting room. Who is on the phone? Hello? To the person on the phone, can you do a quick sound check for us? Unmute yourself. Okay. All right. Oh. Okay. This is candidate
Mr. Tom Forkin.
Candidate Tom Forkin. Okay. Give me just a moment because actually next up on the
It's
agenda.
Jimmy Whitehead.
Next up on the agenda was Jimmy Whitehead, and I thought that's who you were because you didn't have your name, you just were logged in as phone. So I figured that you were Jimmy Whitehead, but since Jimmy Whitehead is not on and you are, I think that we can move forward with your time. So for Tom Forkin, again, Miriam will serve as our moderator. All of the mayoral candidates will get 2 minutes for an opening statement, 11 minutes of Q&A, and 1 minute for closing remarks. And your time will begin once you begin your opening statement. And just, you're still muted, so if you can unmute yourself, please.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thanks. My name is Tom Forkin, and I'm running for mayor of Atlantic City. I've spent the last 25 years of my life in Atlantic City. I'm a Villanova and Villanova Law School graduate. I'm a former city solicitor under the Whalen administration. I also served Atlantic City as the chairman of the Alcohol Beverage Control Board. I drafted the original legislation for the open container law on the boardwalk, and originally the original draft of the beach bars, which all helped small businesses here in Atlantic City. I'm a former arts commissioner as appointed by Mayor Langford. And, you know, I've served in the Whalen administration during the largest building phase of Atlantic City. We developed the walk, the tunnel, the H track, excuse me, where Borgata is. We also developed, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I thought I lost you there. We're having a bad storm, as you can tell, so I'm ready to paddleboard down the street later. It does get flooded down here in the inlet. So in any event, as a member of the Whalen administration and being a part of that, and also doing work for the Langford administration as outside counsel, Mayor Langford gave me a $50,000 a year contract to do outside legal work. Of the $50,000, I only billed $20,000. Why? Because that's what I build. I build $30,000 under my contract, where many attorneys, outside attorneys, bill way more through change orders and things of that nature. I was successful in getting matters dismissed via summary judgment motions. That's a big area where we could save a lot of money in an administration that I would be a part of as the mayor. But I wouldn't call it the Forkin administration. It would be a bipartisan administration with residents as directors. Right now, we don't have residents as directors here in Atlantic City. We need Atlantic City residents, people that know the city, you know, appointed. We have plenty of competent people here in Atlantic City for those director positions. And the problem is, we don't realize what our greatest asset is. It's not the beaches, it's not the boardwalk, it's not the casino, it's our residents. And we need to provide residents the opportunity to succeed.
And we will now move into the questions portion. Your first question is, what will be your #1 priority in your first 100 days of office?
Well, my #1 priority, and I've said it before, you know, I would immediately return the raise that the present mayor received during the middle of the pandemic. I think that, you know, to really show true fiscal responsibility, that taking a raise in the middle of the pandemic when people were waiting in soup lines, food lines to get food, it's egregious. And the state, at the state's hands, by the way, as well. Also, the over $500,000 of raises that were given to the mayor's staff and some of the out-of-town, out-of-county directors. You know, if you're going to be fiscally responsible, you have to lead by example. So in the first 100 days, that would go. I would sell the mayor's SUV, provide that revenue from the sale to the Police Athletic League, and for the children's programs, because we do need more children's programs here in Atlantic City. So those two things would get done. I would also talk to our new governor, Governor Jack Ciattarelli, who I'm confident will win. He's already represented to me and several others that he would eliminate the state takeover and start to return that luxury room and parking tax that I've been discussing now for almost the last decade. I was against the pilot program. The pilot program is another thing I would attack and have certain amendments to the pilot program, keeping the luxury room and parking tax, which is in excess of $90+ million a year. That's revenue and opportunities that our residents need. We make plenty of money here in Atlantic City, but the issue is the state takes that money and sends it to Trenton. It's enough already. We need a change in the game. We need a new governor. We need a new state senator, and we need new assembly people. So I'm asking not just for your vote for me, but your vote for Jack Ciattarelli, Vince Palestina, Don Guardian, and Claire Swift.
Thank you so much, Tom. Your second question. Atlantic City has over 2,400 parcels of tax-exempt parcels at an assessed value that is more than double the assessed value of taxable parcels. Do you have a plan to reduce the number of tax-exempt parcels? And what are the other ways we can increase our rateable base?
Well, I mean, this is a major problem. And again, as you know, I've been involved in these issues for a very long time, even since I was a city solicitor. After that, I was a police legal advisor, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But to reduce the number of parcels of property, the CRDA owns over 600 lots in the city. Over 600, that's just the CRDA. Now, this recent boondoggle that they have with the ShopRite, do we need a shopping food shop in Atlantic City? Yes, we do. But we don't need to lease the land to the ShopRite for $1 a year. If the CRDA gave that property to ShopRite for $1, then that would put it back on the tax books. Okay, the CRDA has a ton of empty lots around town. They're poorly kept. You know, this deal with ShopRite, you know, plus the $18 million that the CRDA is giving them and a $1 a year, it hurts our residents, it injures our tax base, and it really offsets our ratables. We're losing roughly over $1 million a year in taxable income, probably just for that one property, let alone the over 600 lots that the CRD owns. We need development. We need to bring developers in. And that's really not going to happen until we stabilize the tax base. Once we get that luxury room and parking tax back, which is in excess of $90+ million a year, that's almost 1/3 of the city budget. If we retrieve all or part of that money back, okay, we can stabilize taxes, spark home ownership and small business ownership and development here, and getting properties back on the tax books.
Thank you, Tom. The next question. How do you plan to address the city's environmental issues, such as increased flooding?
Well, as you know, I used to live on the Bay. I was recently taxed out of my home. The taxes went from $7,500 a year to $17,800. Didn't go down, they went up fourfold. Okay, and my street used to flood out all the time. The city and the state put in these multi-million-dollar pumps that rarely get turned on. The shutoff valves running up through the runoff from the city streets aren't shut off properly. I mean, I don't know who is doing the engineering for that, but we need the appropriate people using those pumps, pumping the water out from the streets and shutting off those valves so the water doesn't come back in. I mean, if you pump it out, it comes right back up the gutters, and that's really what the problem is. Also, bulkheading. I have a plan to approach FEMA and some other federal grant money to address the West End issue back near Vagabond, where that area constantly floods out, to create bulkheading all the way down into Ventnor. I've discussed this matter briefly with the city of Ventnor. Folks there seem to like the idea. If you put new bulkheading back there with a boardwalk and sunsets, it's beautiful. But we need to secure our perimeter, because with global warming the way it is, the sea level rising, this problem is only going to get worse. We have the pumps in place. We just need to use them properly and have the personnel, dispatched to use those apparatuses properly as well.
Thank you, Tom. Atlantic City has a high percentage of residents who are renters, as well as a high overcrowded rate within its housing stock, according to census data. If elected, what will be your plan for affordable housing for low and middle income residents?
Well, we used to have a program here in the city where, there was a mortgage property done through CREDA to help spark home ownership in Atlantic City. As a member of the CREDA board, if elected mayor, I would advocate for a return of that mortgage program to put the down payment for single family homeowners. But coupled with that, we have to, provide people opportunities to generate income, to develop a meaningful career, that they love, and do something that you love. You never have to work a day in your life, so we need opportunities here. We need to diversify our marketing base. We need to create, other industries here. I know Mr. Whitehead has a fantastic idea about the cybersecurity that needs to come to fruition. But with that said, I know Mr. Layman, and I love his idea about the $18 an hour. I don't know how that would float with some of the other small business owners, if that would jeopardize their businesses. So, we would have to have a roundtable discussion really on a comprehensive program that would help provide people an opportunity we have plenty of property stock. A dear friend of mine, Mark Rassman, has Levi Construction Company, who could easily, somebody like that, a local developer could easily come in and revise some of that housing stock with, funding appropriated from the federal government and provide housing for our middle to low income families. And that would be a tremendous boost, to our rateable base as well as our residents.
Excellent. What anti-poverty strategies will you implement while in office to address the high poverty rates among Atlantic City's families?
Well, you mean the high property tax rates?
No, Tom, this question is about anti-poverty strategies. What anti-poverty strategies will you implement while in office to address the high poverty rates among Atlantic City's families?
Well, I think again, and it's clear, our present mayor, he's been on city council for a very long time, 16 years. And, the state takeover hasn't helped him. I think if the state, took its, foot off his back, maybe he could have more success, but he needs to advocate, for a different approach, because what's going on right now is unconstitutional here in Atlantic City. There's civil rights violations that are being set forth upon our residents by the state of New Jersey. The pilot's unconstitutional. The lack of, programs for our residents, educational programs are key. I mean, the state came in and they cut our after school programs for our middle school children, something I spoke out against when it happened. So I think it's all education opportunities. I do respectfully disagree with the $18 an hour increase. I'll just say that now, because it may put some of the small businesses at risk. But yet we have to provide, career training. I teach at ACIT, which is a technical institute with different academies. I think we need to provide our children with those types of employment opportunities, career path training, more tech and more VOTEC skill sets, electrical, plumbing, carpentry. I don't think any of our residents were hired during the demolition of the Trump Plaza, just moving simple rock, and these people came in from out of state, out of county. We have to employ our local residents, in these construction or demolition positions.
Thank you. How will you ensure that development decisions do not displace or otherwise negatively impact communities of color and low-income neighborhoods?
Well, it's ironic that you said that, because I took issue when we were part of the legal team that developed the tunnel. I spoke out against disrupting Venice Park neighborhood. A dear friend of mine, Pierre Hollingsworth, was relocated, as well as a number of my other friends. Pierre wasn't just a friend. Pierre Hollingsworth was a mentor. And I think that, in looking at that in retrospect, there were other ways to circumvent the necessity for a tunnel. We could have gone across the marsh from the expressway. That was being explored as well. It wouldn't have disrupted a neighborhood. But I think first and foremost, we have a planning and development director that's from Tuckerton, Ocean County. Barbara Woolley Dixon, I think her name is, Ocean County, Tuckerton. We don't even have people that are directors that live in town. I think we need people that live in town. We have an ordinance that requires that residents live in town. Frankly, that's why I live in town. I was part of the Wayland administration. And, I had to move to town. I moved to town 25 years ago. My son was born during my tenure. in the city attorney's office. You know, I sold my property. I left Villanova and Stone Harbor to come here. And I've been invested heavily into Atlantic City. I love Atlantic City, but we have to do more. We have to do better.
Thank you, Tom. That concludes the Q&A portion. You now have 1 minute for closing remarks.
Okay. Well, again, my name's Tom Forkin. I respectfully submit that I have the experience and the education to really help our city. You know, I respectfully disagree with the way things have been handled. I'm asking for your support, not just for me, but for Jack Chittarelli, Vince Palestina, Don Guardian, and Claire Swift. They'll be speaking tomorrow night. And you need to hear that because we need new state legislators because the state is the problem here, as well as the city officials that don't advocate for our interests, because the special interest from the state, the high attorney's fees, the outside plum special interest contracts are crushing our residents. We're not getting opportunities. We're being sold out, you know, not just by some of the elected city officials, but by the state officials, and they need to be held accountable. If people can't get the job done for the residents of Atlantic City, it's not about going out and buying votes. It's about going out and having an organic grassroots movement where people have just had enough. So let's send Trenton a message this November 2nd and this week. Send Trenton a message and say it's enough. The residents of Atlantic City, we want our city back. So if I'm elected,
thank you, Tom.
We're gonna have a bipartisan administration that's going to be the city's administration, our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for
for allowing me to
joining
speak.
us.
Thank you, Mr. Forkin. Tom Forkin is a candidate for Atlantic City Mayor. We will now bring in our next candidate, Jimmy Whitehead, and thank you, Miriam, for the questions. For candidate Whitehead, Reverend Stafford Miller will be asking the questions. I will just bring in Jimmy Whitehead's candidate profile for those of you who are tuning into our YouTube page. We have a page of candidate profiles for each candidate. He will be given 2 minutes for an introduction, 11 minutes of Q&A, and 1 minute for a closing statement. And if you're there, if we can do a quick sound check, if you can unmute yourself and say hello so that we know that, so that we can hear you. Okay, great. Hello, thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Once you begin, your time will start, and then Reverend Miller will take over questions, okay?
Okay, so do I start by, you say, do my opening? Okay, first of all, it's a new day in the city of Atlantic City. Can we all say new day? Yes, we can. Thank you, NAACP. Thank you, Atlantic City. Thank you, America. And thank you, God, for permitting me this incredible opportunity to participate in your democratic process to be your next mayor of Atlantic City. A little bit about Jimmy Whitehead. I'm a Navy veteran. I worked for the White House for 12 years. I had the distinguished honor to run Rebuild LA after the Rodney King riots. And I was able to get the president to give me $250 million in 2 days to invest into rebuilding LA. I had the distinguished honor of being a part of the team that got Nelson Mandela out of prison, out of Robben Island, but I also I worked many years in terms of abolishing apartheid. So I had that type of experience. A couple of years ago, I had the really distinguished experience to help the citizens of Atlantic City keep their right to vote as I led the Vote No effort against the referendum to take the power from the people. And I believe that I bring the kind of integrity and compliancy and transparency that Atlantic City needs to have a new day and move Atlantic City forward for the people. I'm very focused on doing everything I've done over the last 50 or 60 years of my life and bringing it down to a funnel where we can lead by people's prosperity in Atlantic City and do what's best for the people first. So the background of me is just I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I'm a proud Navy veteran, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions so we could move this city forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. My pleasure to meet you. We have a series of questions. You have 11 minutes for about almost half a dozen, if not more, questions. So please gauge yourself and gauge your answers. First question, what will be your #1 priority in your first 100 days of office?
My #1 priority would be to make Atlantic City and Pacific Avenue clean and secure. We have to clear those avenues first, because that's the first thing that people see when they come to Atlantic City. But then I do have a couple.
You're quiet, Mr. Whitehead. You're muted yourself. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. No, we cannot hear you. Now we can hear you. Try it now.
Okay, so it was about the first 100 days, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So within the first 100 days, I want to make sure that we clean Atlantic Avenue and Pacific Avenue up. We can clean Atlantic City and Pacific Avenue with the right focused leadership. I also have a couple of pet projects that I want to get done for the community. And number one is back in the seawall. I want to repair that restroom there. I want to repair the restroom at Altman Playground. I want to start a vigorous effort to help get the Holocaust Memorial moving on the boardwalk. And I also want to do a program that we can start focusing on how we can get these kids engaged with some after-school projects. So my first 100 days are going to be focused completely on community projects that impact our families at the local level.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question. Atlantic City has over 2,400 parcels of tax-exempt land. How do you plan to reduce the number of these tax-exempt parcels? And what other ways can we increase our rateable base?
Well, first of all, we got to sit down with CRETA because this is all properties that CRETA probably owns. And as we can see from the recent situation where they want to give ShopRite $18 million in property and not pay any taxes and just pay $1 per year for a property, we have to sit down and say, look, going forward, it's not the same Atlantic City where casinos were so prosperous. So we have to have these properties that CRETA owns paying some taxes to the city. And so we have to go back and sit down with CRETA and renegotiate how do we go forward from here with a number of those parcels of land. They've got to be able to generate some revenue for City Hall.
Okay, thank you. How do you plan to address the city's environmental issues, such as the increased flooding?
Well, first of all, we need to examine some of the infrastructure development that is in place. For example, I understand that seawall that they just built back there with the beautiful concrete and the benches and everything, there's no drainage there. So what's going to happen when that water hits those walls, that water is going to come right on down into where those homes are because there's nowhere for that. They haven't built a drainage system in that seawall, the new seawall they have back there. So we have to re-examine some of the existing infrastructure and figure out ways we can modernize it and update it so that it can be better on the environment. And then we need to work closely with the federal government, the Environmental Protection Agency, to bring some of those guys in here to get some new advice on the new Atlantic City, because everything that's here now, from the infrastructure to the sitting officials, it's the old Atlantic City. So we have to focus on a new infrastructure and electing me to be the new mayor. Can't hear you again, sir. Mr. Stafford, are you on mute?
Okay, good. Because we can't hear each other from time to time, right? We're going to do this. Okay, thank you.
It's an infrastructure problem.
Right, next one. Atlantic City has a high percentage of renters. How would you move them to home ownership, affordable housing? What's your plan?
Sure. Well, we have to make affordable housing that is really affordable. You know, somebody that's currently paying $700 or $1,000 per month for rent, they're not going to be able to afford to move into affordable housing that costs $2,500 a month. So we need to be able to, first of all, create some real affordable housing. Secondly, we have to create a 9-point plan to take people from workforce training to life skills and to a real job, and to give them some financial literacy and help them learn how to own a home. So we have to work on educating our citizens on financial literacy, workforce training, and we have to make affordable housing really affordable and not just the houses for the wealthy.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
We're good. And I can hear you.
Thank
So
God,
we're all right.
thank God.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What anti-poverty strategies will you implement while in office to address the high poverty rates among Atlantic City's families?
Well, the first anti-poverty strategy I would put in place, which I'm glad all the other candidates are learning from me, an example that we've set forth, is create community benefits agreement. I would say that I've started 2 months ago or 3 months ago with Derek Brock and as a key bay of talking to Creta about how we need community benefits agreement in place, because those will be the first step to help us address poverty, giving people on the local level a greater opportunity to participate in the economic growth of Atlantic City, which is not happening right now. I would be the mayor who fights for the people of Atlantic City to be a part of the curve of growth instead of just supporting all of the big businesses and the shop rights out there. We need to be able to make sure that we're inclusive of local folks as entrepreneurs and not just as employees, as managers and not just as laborers. And we have to give them the opportunity to prosper, but we have to make sure that the prosperity is spread at the local level with the people first.
Thank you. Thank you. How would you make sure that developmental decisions won't displace or negatively impact communities of color or in the low-income neighborhoods?
Well, I'm gonna make sure that happens because, first of all, I'm gonna be the mayor. And as the mayor, I'm gonna be the watchdog of these type of activities. And I'm gonna pull together community prosperity groups from each one of the wards so that they can sit and meet with me monthly and they can see every deal that's going on and they can see every detail about all of the deals in terms of transparency. Because the biggest problem with Atlantic City's poverty is that the citizens of Atlantic City, the local folks, don't have access to the information. Because of all these closed backdoor deals going on, we need to be more open and more that the citizens know. These are some smart people in Atlantic City, but you can only be as intelligent as you're exposed to. So we got to expose them to everything so they can use their intelligence to prosper. And that's how we start to address poverty at the local level. Include the people in the growth.
Okay. We have 4 minutes left. We're going to keep moving. Okay. How would the state takeover of Atlantic City that has been extended? What do you see as the pros and the cons of the state takeover in this new arrangement?
Well,
pros and cons.
Sure. The pros are that they can better manage Atlantic City than the current administration can in terms of being accountable and in terms of transparency. The cons is that I want the people of Atlantic City to have the control of their own city. I think that we should be able to run our own city, but we have to run it with some level of maturity and a lot of level of integrity and compliance and transparency. So I think there's some pros and cons to having the state in here, but I'm not going to be focused on working for the state. I'm going to fight for the people. And I believe that as leaders of Atlantic City, when I show the governor that we can bring in $500 million or more of investment from private sector, that's more money than the city budget. I think we have to be able to show that kind of leadership in this new day in Atlantic City, where you have a leader that can bring in private investment that is way more than the budget of Atlantic City. And then the governor say, you know what? It's time to turn this power back over to the people of Atlantic City because we have a mayor like Jimmy White here who is accountable for his actions.
Okay. You mentioned cleaning up Atlantic Avenue Pacific. How about the question that we have is that regular street sweeping and cleaner sidewalks in the residential areas? How about that?
Well, I like that point. And let me tell you something. I noticed that in some of these streets, they have a sign up that says, don't park on this street on the second Tuesday or the second Wednesday, etc. Well, nobody's making sure that happens. We need to be able to follow through on the regulations we put down for the people. I mean, if we're going to put the regulations out there to try to improve the community, then we have to follow through with the regulations that we enforce, and we enforce them. So I think we have to do more at the government level to enforce the policies that we put in place to keep the city cleaner. Because right now, the current leadership is not focused on cleaning the city and is not focused on cleaning our communities. And that's where I will start with my focus, cleaning our communities first and working with the youth. I mean, we could create some beautification councils with our young people. We could create some beautification councils with some of the street people. We got a lot of people in Atlantic City who would be willing to voluntarily clean up these streets if we had the leadership that would take them in that direction.
Thank you. What makes Jimmy Whitehead uniquely qualified to serve as mayor of the great city of Atlantic City?
Well, Jimmy Whitehead has the leadership of a Navy man, number one. I'm a veteran. I'm a patriot. I'm a man that's had experience working from the White House to the halls of Congress. I understand where the money is at the federal government level. I've had global experiences that teach me how Atlantic City is not doing enough outreach to other cities and other states and other countries to create more economic opportunity. So I believe that the vision, that the opportunities that God gave me in life, in terms of, like I say, from the White House to Congress, to working for City Hall in Baltimore, I've done a lot of at every level of government. Plus, I know how to work with bipartisanship. I know how to bring people across the aisle and say, listen, this is not about you. This is about the citizens of Atlantic City. And that's where I'll stay focused on.
30 seconds. Tell me something. 30 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Say something. You got 30 more seconds. Come on.
30 seconds. Listen, this is the most important election in Atlantic City history. This is a time when we can transition from the past to the future. This is an opportunity for us to clean up where we have messed up and start out fresh with a gentleman like myself, who is a very accountable, very focused, very mature, very sophisticated brother who understands that the most important thing in this election is the people of Atlantic City. Not being mayor, not Creta, not the casinos. The most important thing in this election is the future of the people of Atlantic City. And you have to ask yourself, are you better than you were 4 years ago? No. And do you want to be in the same place 4 years from now? No.
Thank you.
So you have to vote for column D. Jimmy White is the candidate for a new day in Atlantic City. God bless you.
Mr. Whitehead, thank you so much for your time. I'm sorry about the little confusion along the way with me being quiet, you being quiet, but I'm sure people heard you loud and clear. Congratulations.
We actually do have, that was the time mark for the Q&A.
Oh, so he has another minute.
Take
Oh,
1
man.
minute.
We're going to give you another minute. Go ahead. Look at that.
Thank you, brother. I'm breathing hard trying to keep up. Thank you. No, you know, this minute is really devoted to one thing, the people of Atlantic City. You have a choice right now. Look, when you go behind that voting booth, nobody knows who you vote for. You don't have to be fearful of this administration no more. You don't have to be scared of this mayor no more. You don't have to be worried about if somebody's going to come and bully you and intimidate you into voting for them. When you go behind that booth and pull that curtain, you can vote for column D. You have to think big and you don't vote small. You have to think about voting for your children's future. Your children's future is not in the past. Your children's future is not in the present of this administration. Your children's future is in the future with Jimmy Whitehead's leadership, making sure that God leads us, that integrity leads us, that honesty leads us, that family values lead us. We need somebody in Atlantic City to help these young brothers who need fathers in their lives. And they look up to me. They may look at me as an old man, but they look at to me also with fatherly love. And I give that to them. And
Thank you, Mr. Whitehead.
Atlantic City around.
Okay, thank you.
That's for my minute. Okay.
Yeah, that was a full minute. Okay.
But God bless you. Thank you very much, Atlantic City.
Thank you for your God bless you in your campaign. Helen, it's your time.
Thank you. We just heard from candidate Jimmy Whitehead, who is running to be mayor of Atlantic City. Next up is our final candidate, Mayor Marty Small. We are waiting for him to join our Zoom meeting. In the meantime, I will pull up his candidate profile. If you're watching on YouTube, we're putting up candidate profiles. If you're listening in to WEHA, we are hearing from the candidates for mayor of Atlantic City. Election day is Tuesday, November 2nd. You can vote at the polling places from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., or you can visit one of the 6 voting centers in Atlantic County. You don't have to go to a voting center in your town. You can actually go to any county voting center. They have, the poll workers have electronic poll books. This is the first time they're using them. And you can vote at one of the early voting centers Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. So let's see if we have, while I take a moment, if President Shabazz, if you would like to make any announcements. You're muted. And we will wait.
2 announcements real quick. I want to thank you, Helen, and Reverend Miller for you moderating, and Miriam for moderating. I want to thank Anastasia for her work, Yolanda for her work behind the scenes, and tomorrow, Mr. Alex Bland, who's going to be with us. Just want to say that April 30th, which seems like a long way away, but it's not, April 30th for the fundraising breakfast of the NAACP, or Freedom Fund breakfast, which is going to be April 30th, is the last Saturday in April at Hard Rock. And we cordially invite everyone to attend that breakfast. And also our Martin Luther King program, which is going to be the third Monday in January 17th, 2022. It's going to be virtually this year. And I want to announce here for the first time, our speaker is going to be the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver for the Martin Luther King Day program. And then, of course, we're going to have our second annual radiothon. So look forward to that. You'll be hearing more about that. We are honored and pleased to have Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, who's a history maker in her own right, first woman of color elected statewide in the state of New Jersey. So I see the mayor's on. I'll stop now.
Yes, welcome, Mayor Small. Thank you for joining our forum. Reverend Stafford Miller will be our moderator for your portion. So just to reiterate, it's 14 minutes total. You'll have 2 minutes for an opening remark. You'll have 11 minutes of Q&A, and then you'll have a final minute for closing. I will be putting up little signs to let you know how much time you have. And your time will start, your 2 minutes will start once you begin. I'll start the clock.
Have a sound check, please. Mayor, can we hear you?
Testing 1 2, testing
Good.
1 2.
Perfect.
I'm good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Good evening, members of the NAACP. First and foremost, thanks for hosting this debate. And more importantly, I'm a member of the NAACP. Well, I'm Mayor Marty Small Singh. I'm mayor of the great city of Atlantic City. We've been the mayor for 2 years now. We've been through the ups, we've been through the downs. We had to stabilize government. We had to lower your taxes 2 years. We have a unique way of putting money back into the taxpayer's pocket through the American Rescue Plan that we're currently going through with the state. I came in during the change of government, also during COVID-19, and our performance has been stellar for the good people of Atlantic City. We produced testing sites, we fed seniors, we had a field hospital, we had vaccination centers, and that's leadership under the Small administration, working with many partners as our administration is built on our partnerships. We found a unique way to raise more programs and services while decreasing spending, despite losing $80 million in the rateable base. We have a multicultural office. We have a senior office. After the new year, our recreation program is going to happen. We are being proactive with the violence in the street with our One Neighborhood Evolution program. And we have many, many, many more plans. No administration has gotten more money from state and federal government than this administration. And later on in the question and answer, we'll highlight some of those. So we're going to show you why you should dream big and vote small.
Your Honor, thank you. Thank you so much. We have like around a dozen questions, so I want to give you a chance to answer them all, but you have like around 11, 12 minutes, so make sure your answers are crisp, okay? First question, what would be your #1 priority in your first 100 days of office?
Well, listen, we're going to continue our plan dealing with the quality of life, and I've already demonstrated the 100 days in office. I believe no mayor has had to deal with the issues that my administration had to deal with, starting with repairing and restoring the confidence and faith in the mayor's office in Atlantic City government, dealing with social unrest. A lot of towns and municipalities, they rioted for weeks and months. We had a bad few hours here in the great city of Atlantic City. I was on the front line with members of the community and our police department. I took a strong stand. We fought off the change of government. Contrary to popular belief, the community led that effort to change the government, and we were extremely successful, as well as dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we excelled in that area, and we're going to excel in the next 100 days as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Another question. Atlantic City has over 2,400 parcels of tax-exempt land. How do you plan to reduce the number of the tax-exempt parcels, and what other ways can we increase our ratables?
Well, first and foremost, tax exempt parcels are just that. They're tax exempt. It's either i.e. state agencies, nonprofits, CCs. How do you do that? Is that you package everything. And I see a lot of people talking about Curfew, which I'm a board member. CRDA will give land away if you come up with a concrete plan. Similar to what we did between CRDA, the city, and the housing to create Stanley Jr. And we'll go into that because we talked about gentrification and everything else, but those are moves that was made by our small. And I think that, you know, I know it's a lot being said about affordable housing and different things like that.
Okay,
We have to,
Mayor, your voice is breaking up, so we gotta just stay with us, okay? Stay with us.
I thought it was maybe just my computer, but now that Reverend Miller mentioned it, it's starting to be a little staticky.
Okay, so we'll work with you on it though, okay? All right, so you're saying the tax
let me try to turn this volume down because I hear y'all coming in static. I'm gonna turn it down. Can you hear me?
That's better, much better, much better, much better. Okay, so you're saying how can we increase our rateable base? You were saying that we didn't hear that. Your solution?
Well, to increase the rateable base is working with people like AC DevCo to create over 100 unit housing project that's going to gear to the middle class. Because I know we keep saying affordable housing, and I've been a champion for affordable housing. Just look at the things that I've done in the second ward as councilman with the largest Hope 6 project and rebuilding Carver Hall and many properties in the Marina District. To increase the rateable base, we have to bring the middle class here to the city of Atlantic City and have housing and amenities that the middle class like. It's time to turn the page. Yes, we want to continue to increase our housing stock with good quality housing. Like I was one of the ones that was in favor of Borai when a lot of people didn't think that it can work in Atlantic City, because kudos to Wasim Borai, when a lot of people was running out, he was running in and people thought he was crazy. And now next year, we're getting ready for Nobi 2.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Next, how would you plan to address the city's environmental issues such as the increased flooding? What's your plan?
Well, my plan is my plan. Once again, speaking about what this administration have done with partnerships, we got over $20 million from the state of New Jersey to shore up our resiliency, our bulkheads and everything else. And all of those projects are currently underway. Last year, I stood near Georgia Avenue for the new Atlantis Avenue pump station, where we got $5.2 million from the federal government for a pump station. We talked about it in the directors meeting this morning. Parts are coming in to fix the automatic gates uptown. Now, look, as I stated, everything isn't always peaches and cream. The city made a mistake with the pump station uptown. We thought that everything was coming in and it was going to open up the gates automatically. But guess what? This administration is fixing it, and we're going to continue to show up our resiliency, and there will be new bulkheading from Lower Chelsea down to the expressway, and that pump station will alleviate flooding uptown and in the Georgia, Florida, Texas Avenue area.
Thank you, Mayor. Another question we have is that the city has a high percentage of renters. What is your plan for affordable housing and middle income residents housing?
Well, listen, affordable housing is a buzzword. We continue to need that. We continue to need quality housing. This administration has worked with rebuilding the schoolhouse Distant and Liberty. That's improving the housing stock. When we talk about, affordable housing, like I said, that's just a buzzword. What we're doing is working with people like HELP, the Home Empowerment Learning Program, which has a first-time home buyer seminar in City Hall on Thursday to continue to create home ownership opportunities for the good people of Atlantic City. That's not what we're talking about. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. State takeover was extended. What do you see as the pros and the cons of the state takeover?
Well, listen, I'm glad that a lot of people has joined the party and all of a sudden wants to fight the state takeover. When I was by myself and everyone was going along to get along, it was okay. But now people want to revisit the history. It's simple. No one wants to be taken over. However, it's legislation that's beyond our control. So what did we do? We pivoted, and we was a professional and worked with the state of New Jersey. And we're currently working with the administration and Trenton, and we're getting a lot of things done. I know a lot of opponents say cute things like the state is really running the city, but they have no idea what we do on a daily basis for the good people of Atlantic City, continuing to fight the good fight. And we're partners with the state of New Jersey, and that's going to continue throughout the takeover.
Thank you, thank you. Now, how would you ensure that the new development decisions do not displace or negatively impact communities of color and low-income neighborhoods?
Well, it's simple. I know one candidate constantly says back Maryland and Stanley Holmes Village, but that's just a cute campaign buzzword. He don't know the people there. He don't know their deals. He don't know their situation. It's simple. This is what Mayor Small has done. Working with the Atlantic City Housing Authority and creating what is called Stanley Jr. That's the block of Baltic, that's the block of Baltic, Melrose, Connecticut, and New Jersey, where we're placing Stanley Holmes residents in home situations, and Atlantic Care will have a facility on the site as we rebuild and tear down Stanley Holmes village by village by replacing it with meadow style housing, because I know how to get that done because I was the second ward councilman when the Meadows completed the long awaited end to the Hope 6 program. So that's what we've done. We ain't talking about what we want to do. We're protecting the residents in that way.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Attention is given to Atlantic and Pacific Aves, but how about the rest of the city is concerned about clean sidewalks, clean streets in the residential areas? What's your plan?
Listen, we can do a better job. And we had a meeting last week. We talked about it. Unlike, some of the people that's running, it's campaign time. They want to point out everything. Atlantic City does have problems. But like I said, we have big problems, but the solution is small. We have brought back the ward cleanup days, the street sweepers, and it is being enforced contrary to popular belief. So all of the things that we mentioned is going on with my administration, and the guys and women in public works, they do a fantastic job. It was a struggle this year because of all of the federal money floating around. We used to have lines and lines of people wanting to work for the city, even seasonal. We couldn't find people this year, but that's no excuse. We're going to continue the hard work. Like I said, it's problems, but we have the solution.
I have a question that's kind of cute. If you weren't running for mayor, what other candidate would you vote for, or who besides Marty is qualified?
Hey, listen, and I'm gonna answer it in an equally cute way. I wouldn't vote for none of them because you don't see them. Now you see them. They want to talk about a plan this, a plan that. You have a 12-year councilman who hasn't voted on anything. Every major decision is an abstention and or voting present. You have a guy who shows up every 4 years from DC, who sent him. These are total strangers in our community. You can't say that with Mayor Small.
Racial equity in city policies and programs, that would you promote? How would you promote and advance racial equities in city policies and programs?
Hey, listen, we already doing that. But the problem here in Atlantic City, a certain segment of the population, every time someone African-American ascends to a position or receives something, it's because of politics. They don't want to talk about the blood, sweat, and tears of your education and the things that you went through throughout your life. And just look at the last fire class. That's the definition of diversity. We had 10 double minorities, including 3 females, double minority, an African-American, a Hispanic woman, an African-American woman, and the first Pakistan woman in the history, female firefighter in the history of Atlantic City and maybe even the state. Those are decisions that Mayor Small made to diversify City Hall. Look at City Hall up and down. We're diversifying every department from the legal department to everywhere else. This is all happened under my watch. It's not what I want to do, it's what I've done. And with your vote and support, the next 4 years, we're going to take Atlantic City to greater heights.
You got 1 minute for your closing remarks. Tell us all about Marty Smalls.
Well, listen, Atlantic City. Unlike my opponents, I'm not going to sit up here and read from a teleprompter or a prepared message. I love this city. I say it all the time. I'm Atlantic City born. I'm Atlantic City bred. And when I die, I'm going to be Atlantic City dead. I'm clearly the most qualified. This April, ladies and gentlemen, I would have served this city 20 straight years elected, from school board to city council president, and now your mayor. We've had a hard road. This is our 7th election in a little over 2 years. That's commitment. We love this city. We have a plan. I want you to know and understand that a small plan does make a big difference, and that this administration is what all your hopes and dreams are made of. So starting today, if you didn't vote, through October 31st and then on election day, we want you to vote column B. We want you to dream big. We want you to vote small. But guess what? I'm not selfish. I'm promoting my team as well. Vote George Tibbett, Stephanie Marshall, and Bruce Weeks, council at large. And I'm Mayor Marty Small Sr., and I approve this message.
Your Honor, thank you so much for your time. Good luck in your campaign. Helen, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Small, for joining us. To our listeners and our viewers, we just heard from Mayor Marty Small, who is running for re-election for Atlantic City Mayor. That does conclude our program. We heard earlier from the school board, from 2 school board candidates. There are 8 candidates running for 3 positions. Then we heard from our city council candidates. There are 6 candidates running for 3 positions. And then we heard from 5 of our 6 mayoral candidates. 6th candidate, Dr. Daoud Panah, is also running for mayor. I will pass it back over to President Shabazz, but before that, I want to give a special thank you to Reverend Miller, to Miriam Sarhan for being moderators, to Nastasia Davis for being our timekeeper, and to Yolanda Melville, our vice president, for her background support. Thank you, President Shabazz.
And to you, Helen, and to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen, for your hard work and your leadership, and also Reverend Miller, both of you for your leadership on the Political Action Committee, for the many, many hours of hard work that you put in behind the scenes to bring us to what I believe has been a very successful night. And I just want to encourage our listeners on WHA, the people who are watching on Facebook and the NAACP platforms, to please tune in tomorrow night. As Helen has said, and I just want to reinforce it, tomorrow night we're going to have the candidates for state senate, the candidates for assembly, the candidates for county commissioner, and the candidates for county clerk. They will be on tomorrow, same time. We'll start at 6, and we're going to be on the same platforms live on WHA. Let me give a shout out to Elder William Hawks, who is the president and the founder of WHA Radio 88.7 and 100.3 FM. They have been our media partners for a long, long time, and we appreciate them. This gives us another chance to expand our reach, to have more people listen who might not be on the computer. Again, I want to say that a word of thanks to all the candidates. We appreciate them taking their time to come and present themselves to the public. It's not easy running for public office. We appreciate their dedication, their commitment. Again, the NAACP does not endorse candidates, but we do encourage people to vote. We encourage people to be educated. We encourage people to listen to the candidates, to their platforms, to their concerns, to their goals, to their aspirations, and then vote their conscience. And again, early voting is now in session, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the Atlantic City Library. I'm very proud of the fact that the NAACP in Atlantic City advocated successfully for there to be a voting place in Atlantic City at the library. We encourage people to go there 10 to 6 during the week, 10 to 8 during the weekend. Let me say a special shout out also to Reverend Collins A. Days, who's the senior pastor at Second Baptist Church, and his very effective, brilliant daughter, Mandy Days Chapman, who is our chairperson of our task force for infant and maternal welfare, but is also active in community activities. She put together Souls to the Polls, and it was fabulous. It was effective, and we want to salute her and thank her for her activities. And I'll see everyone tomorrow night, same time, same place, live on WHA 88.7 and 100.3, also on NAACP platforms. And tomorrow, Please tune in to the NAACP radio program, 4:30 to 5:30. Our special guest will be Bernie Brown. Bernie Brown is a woman of color, a female entrepreneur, one of the moving forces behind the very, very, very successful Atlantic City Jazz Festival. It had almost 3,000 people this summer. She is going to be our special guest. Our 4:30 hour, we're going to have Dr. Peter Cupanini, who's going to talk about health issues. Alexander Bland, who is going to talk about young adult issues. And of course, Yolanda Melville Esquire, who is our co-host, vice president and legal redress officer in the city of Atlantic City. It's tomorrow, 4:30, WEHA 88.7 and 100.3 FM. Helen, closing, I guess we're almost finished, right?
Yeah, that's about time. Just join us tomorrow. And again, Election Day is November 2nd. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and thank you again to our candidates who participated.
Okay.